سبحان فالق الإصباح.
Ding dong. Hello?
Yes, that's right, infidels. You found us here, channelattitude.com, Hamin Media Group, where you get the most real talk, the best reviews of all your favorite wrestling shows from AEW and WWE, Impact, and more, because we're going to break it all down with the best staff in professional wrestling at HMG. So you don't need to go anywhere else, because there's no 5 stars here. There's only $5 face slaps, infidel. Allahu Akbar! So sign up today, channelattitude.com, Hamin Media Group, and join the Hamin Army for the most real talk in professional wrestling. YOLO!
Warning. The following video clip contains strong language and has therefore been rated 18+ by the YouTube NECCA. Viewer discretion is advised.
Yalla! Welcome everyone to the PWC invasion angle of the Smack Attack, powered by the mighty Hamin Media Group, airing on Channel Attitude. And we are here and we are ready to talk some smack on the Smack Attack. Welcome. I'm your host, Jeff Lippman, aka Evil Dose. Not because I'm twice as nice, but because I'm full of ice. Sitting in for the sinister minister who's observing an accepted, exempted people of the book holiday of some sort that you might have heard of. But I'm the exempted infidel because I'm possessed by a jinn who's designated by Allah has given me the power to discuss wrestling authority. Praise be his name. Joining me are my further heretical co-host, including straight from the golden age of the Greeks, where time has no meaning. The DJ extraordinaire, who always cares, his woman is D, who I will never see, the one and only Jimmy T.
Hey, I feel like we need a bit of cheers in the background after that. Like, yeah. You know what's funny? It's funny, Jeff, because you know what that reminded me of? Joel Gertner doing a promo almost, except without the vulgarity. So I like it. I like that, Jeff. But thank you.
Also joining me, the pagan who loves Carl Sagan, the man from the great wide north who's not afraid to work with his hands, the one and only radical centrist, the one and only Chris Ambs.
Thanks, Jeff. Thank you. Yeah, I like that. That's a good intro. I'm happy with that. Usually, I'm the one introing you guys when we do these shows, so that was nice.
Yeah, it was a lot to live up to. It's a lot to live up to, so I had to make it good. So once again, you are watching on Channel Attitude, powered by the powerful Hamin Media Group. Maybe you're watching the Hamin Media Group. And again, if you don't recognize us, you should. We're on Uncaged. We've done Smack Attack for the past, 6 or 7 weeks or so. Jimmy T has guest hosted many shows. I've been a guest. Chris has been did Impact Attack. I mean, God's sake, we're everywhere. Jimmy T, we did some Ring of Honor reviews. I think that's been aborted. There's euthanasia in America, and that was it. So guy.
The Common King's in his house. Shout out to Todd Brantley.
So guys, listen. I have a little bit of breaking news that I doubt a whole lot of people will be talking about, and I'm sure we'll get into bigger and better things. But in the MLW versus WWE suit, remember that? MLW sued, WWE filed a motion to dismiss. It was granted. MLW was given 21 days to file an amended complaint, which they did at the 11th hour. And WWE filed their motion to dismiss for the new amended complaint. So they raised some bullet points, which are pretty obvious in response to the Sherman Act claim, which is antitrust. You are a monopoly. No, we're not. So some of the points they raised, MLW right now is on Reels. They've managed to make their way, get a deal with the network. So
Reels,
how can their existence on Reels, combine with their claim that they can't get on TV because of the monopoly? Secondly, hey, AEW is in the marketplace and they've got to deal with Warner Brothers Discovery, or Discovery Warner Brothers rather. So if that's happened, what happened to you? Why couldn't you do it? And the women of wrestling, their rights were sold to CBS Media Ventures. So thus there's no monopoly under the Sherman Act. Further, they state that MLW didn't even attempt to define what markets that they've been excluded from, including what wrestlers they've been excluded from bidding on, and what arenas, venues, or cities that they've been excluded from. They also further said that wrestling was not distinguished by MLW from any other form of scripted entertainment on television, and that was necessary. There's nothing special about wrestling content because it is scripted television. They also pointed out that even if their market share is 92% of the domestic wrestling market, that's irrelevant because there's no guarantee that those customers would flock to MLW. They also pointed out the fact that based on timing, the Peacock and Reels deal was done after Reels and MLW entered into a deal. So it's not like they were preventing MLW from being on Reels. So those two things are irrelevant, and the timing is off. And MLW can seek deals with any of the other many streaming platforms. They denied that they ever blacklisted any talent or that they prevented MLW from hiring any. They pointed, as an example, Davey Boy Smith Jr., who was released by WWE and worked for MLW prior and is right now working for MLW. And then they pointed out to other talents such as Matt Riddle and Karrion Kross that they did not talk to WWE or get contracted until their obligations to MLW were over. Then with regards to intellectual property, which was part of what they were claiming that they sort of hoard characters and names, WWE simply pointed to a prior federal court decision, ironically in the case where was WWE, really Titan Sports Entertainment, against Turner Broadcasting, but WWE versus WCW, where the court upheld WWE's intellectual property rights to names and characters that they create as being equally legitimate as DC owns Superman. So there you go. Everyone who's always complaining, why does WWE change the name? There you got it, right there, people, right there. And then they further say, basically, MLW admits that it fails at creating characters of its own, and they just want to basically glam off of the characters already created by WWE. And they pointed to Enzo, who MLW recently released in unrelated news, and pointed out that they had to send a cease and desist to MLW regarding Enzo, spelled Enzo, because he was going around as Enzo. And the way he had Enzo presented, like as a logo, was exactly the same as the NWO style. And so he was not just infringing on the phonetics and the sound of the name, but also the look of, not just his character, but also the famous NWO. And of course, he now has had to change his name to Real One without going to litigation. So even MLW in their actions recognized this, right? And that MLW was issued another cease and desist, and there was a bit of a dispute over the use of the term War Games back in 2019, and WWE opted to let MLW use it once on that TV, but never again. So they're saying, we're not even malicious or spiteful. We let them use their War Games name that they promoted around, just not in the future. So a little bit of news again. I don't think anybody's going to be talking about that, or at least not tonight. But so since I got that and had a chance to peruse it, I figured I'd share it with the world and get a Hamin Media Group Channel Attitude Joint PWC scoop and show why we're worth every penny we get paid.
Absolutely. That's actually quite interesting. And thanks for the news tidbit there, Jeff. That's actually very interesting. So what's going to happen here now, basically, Jeff? Anything, should MLW be worried?
Well, I mean, a couple things happen. One, MLW can file a SIR response, basically a counter response. And if they do, WWE can file a SIR response to that as well. The judge can rule on the motion. There were attachments and exhibits. The judge could order a hearing on it, could ask for briefs and order a hearing on it. But if the judge feels that as a matter of law, MLW failed to meet its burden of its proof in a light most favorable to MLW, they can dismiss it on summary judgment and more. I mean, I would just expect, if that happens, if WWE will seek attorney's fees and possibly other sanctions for a frivolous lawsuit. I don't know if that'll happen or not, but I would not be surprised at all, because this sort of is crap. And when they point to former acknowledgments, in slightly different details, but in the same pace, with MLW acknowledging certain rights, that they may say, hey, they knew this was frivolous. This was a money grab. They knew that we were being sold, and they're trying to use this as leverage. But
if I could just take a second, sure. I think that there might be some people listening who aren't really sure exactly what's going on, and I want to try to use a little bit of a different example to try to explain to people basically what happened. So essentially what happened is that MLW is suing WWE because they are basically suggesting in a court of law that if the WWE wasn't as dominant and as popular as they are, and if they weren't doing a bunch of things that are illegal, again, quote unquote illegal, that MLW would be bigger and more popular and they would make more money. Basically, this would be like if the PWC, that's the three of us, decided to sue Stone Cold Steve Austin because his podcast gets 4 million listens and ours doesn't, and if only he would get out of the way and not keep us down, then we could have 4 million listeners instantly, just like he does. It's ludicrous. It's been ludicrous since the very beginning, and anyone who knows anything about the law, and I think that Jeff very astutely explained this a couple of times, this is never going to work. This was always going to be something that I do think that the WWE is going to countersue as for a frivolous lawsuit, and I think that they'll win because no one thinks this. Everyone involved in professional wrestling who are a smaller federation already knows that they're not going to be the WWE tomorrow, no matter what happens.
Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely true. Jim, you want to chime in on this, or you're going to take a pass on this one?
Well, there's not much really for me to say because I don't know enough about it other than what you just said. But like Chris said, no doubt WWE will win this. And even if they weren't going to win, if they didn't have a chance, they got McDivitt as their lawyer. All they're going to do is just pile on the money until they settle. So either way, WWE has this, no doubt about it.
Well, WWE won't settle. It would be MLW, which would have to.
Well,
dismiss.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Right.
I mean, WWE will fight a suit like this for a decade if they have to.
Yeah, they'll do it forever.
That's what I mean. That's how they strangle all their opponents, man. Like every time.
That's how everybody with money strangles their opponents
Right.
in the legal system. I mean, unless there's a smoking gun, or you can equalize it, like in a class action lawsuit where you have a firm that's willing to put out $1 million in costs on something like that. So.
I think that MLW really missed the boat here, especially with everything that's been going on. What they really ought to do is they ought to go straight out of New York City, and they ought to basically just include in their lawsuit every clip that they have of Donald Trump being in WWE TV, and then they'll definitely win their lawsuit if they can equate Donald Trump with WWE in New York. That'll basically win it for them. But other than that, they're SOL in this lawsuit.
Well, they picked California for reasons. So, and that may indeed be an issue for another day, but we don't need to get into that at the moment. Yeah, MLW's timing was really lousy because they filed this sort of at the height of AEW's popularity, which, I mean, just shows that they did not put up a palatable product, a product that any major market was interested in, and they failed on Vice once, and now they're failing on Reels. I mean, the 10 weeks, it's almost certainly not going to be renewed. They had their two best weeks were 79,000 and 96,000 on TV. Now, the shows that were previously on in that time slot did about 165,000. So, Anyway, but their most recent 2 shows, not this Tuesday, I don't have those numbers yet because they don't get reported by the Thurstons and everyone else in the world. You got to wait a while to find them. But the last 2 shows reported were 54,000 and 49,000. So that's New Japan on Access TV numbers. All right. So do you want to go straight into SmackDown, or do you want to hit some topics of news first?
Whatever you like, Jeff. You're the host tonight, so whatever you feel like doing, man.
News. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Oh yeah! Listen up! Come on again. That's my newsboy thing. I can't even remember what newsboy. Extra! Read all about it. Stop the presses. All right. AEW All In, August 27th in London's Wembley Stadium, which seats 90,000 people. They have pre-sold an estimated 25,000 seats at this time. I guess the question is, how many more seats will they fill to get to that 90? Any thoughts on this, on the card, the idea, London in August, outdoor
I just want to
stadium?
say, first of all, TK is either on some fucking heavy drugs, clearly, right? I mean, his eyes were literally ready to pop out of his skin. Exactly, like what Chris is doing. We're literally ready to pop out of his forehead. But I don't know what he was thinking, because he looks really confident. But there is no chance in hell that they're even going to get 50,000 tickets sold, dude. There's no way. And you know what? People online, the IWC, even the YWC, claim that if they sell 50,000, even 40,000, that's a success. I don't care what anyone says. Sure, that's a lot of tickets sold, but you don't book a 90,000 seater stadium and expect 50 grand over there. All right, because first of all, how bad would that look if it was half empty?
Chris?
It would look pretty bad.
Right, exactly.
Listen, if you can get 40,000 people in an arena, you've got to at least allow yourself, to feel like, hey, look, we got 40,000 people in an arena. That's a big deal. It's not something that everybody can do. I think they're going to struggle to hit 50,000. I think they're going to struggle a lot to hit 50,000. I think an outdoor arena in August in England is a really bad fucking idea. I think that in general, this is a lot of mistakes compounding on top of each other. And I think that the only way they really get close to 50 or 60,000 is if they re-sign CM Punk. And they also pick up Drew Galloway when his contract is up with WWE. And they announced the shit out of it before the show. But I do not see any conceivable way for them to fill up this arena. Even if they do those things, I don't think they're going to hit 90,000. Now, if they had 60,000 people in that arena, you could tarp off certain sections and you could make it look decent. It would still look very full. It would still look like 50 or 60,000 people. But, I mean, you're right. That's not really a success financially because Wembley is fucking expensive to book.
Yeah, no, you're right, and that's the thing, Chris. You're right though. If they do the camera angles right, 50,000 is going to look good even in there.
Like obviously, you said that the Winnipeg Arena looked full on TV.
Yeah,
right? Like,
which surprised me, and you told me it wasn't.
It holds just under 16,000. That's what it holds for hockey. So for wrestling, it's probably closer to 17,000. And I'll bet you there were less than 10,000 people in the arena. So
wow,
it can still look good on TV.
8,000, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 8,000, 9,000.
Picks and see how many tickets they sold and how many were made available. I agree with a lot of the points that Chris made because they were sort of obvious and salient and good points. Point of reference: when the WWE ran Wembley Stadium, they hit 69,000, and they barely
back in '92.
Yes, and they barely broke even. And AEW tickets are a lot cheaper than WWE tickets are generally. AEW ticket sales do tend to spike in the short term, but they sort of peter off. They don't tend to get a lot of ground after their pre-sales. It's like their fans are very anxious. They think
Actually,
a lot
Jeff,
of people will fly in. What's that?
I heard, actually, sorry to cut you off because I just remembered it. There's been reports that 25,000, this is from yesterday, that 25,000 people have already signed up for tickets when they become available.
The 25,000 tickets have been ordered for pre-sale.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, so I don't know business-wise what it takes to make money on this show for AEW. I can tell you that there's nothing that certain quarters of the IWC will consider a fail or a loss for AEW. You still have people claiming that Friday nights at 10 is a dead slot. Dallas was the #1 show in America for 10 years, Friday nights at 10 o'clock. I mean, shows like Fantasy Island occupied that show. Falcon Crest. I mean, shows that were on for years and years and years. Blue Bloods was in that slot #1 for a while. So, it's just not a dead slot. It's actually a pretty coveted spot. I think shows like 48 Hours in 2020 were in that slot as well at times, doing pretty well. So, I don't really know what you're talking about, especially when you have wrestling fans to the tune of between 2 and 2.5 million routinely watching SmackDown. If they were interested, could just turn over. I mean, if you got half of those people or 1/3, you'd have 800,000 people watching your show. You don't. I mean, they're struggling to get 400,000 somewhere.
But that's what's bizarre, Jeff. The fact that this company gets on Dynamite, particularly on a good day, 900,000, 800,000. That's on a good day, right? Mm-hmm. But that's the average number, right? Mm-hmm. Roughly. And they think they can go to London and sell out Wembley Stadium is just bizarre to me.
Listen, if they do, great. I mean, it'll be an amazing achievement. I don't think you make money. I'm not sure if that's what Tony's motivation is ever really to make money. I'm not sure he has any business plan in mind. But yeah, it's going to be tough. We don't know what the card is, so maybe that would help. We don't know CM Punk's health status. We know when he buried AEW about 4 weeks ago, as a result of Meltzer sort of tweaking at him, he did acknowledge that he was still injured. So, he hasn't even really started rehabbing or training. And, if you want our thoughts on CM Punk, you can probably listen to our shows from 3 to 4 weeks ago, and you'll hear plenty of them. So, yeah, but I just wanted to bring that up. In other AEW news, as Jimmy was pointing out, the Dynamite ratings this week came in. They were 877,000 with 4 title matches, with a huge announcement to be made by Tony Khan, with early in the day announcing that Nigel McGuinness was all elite, with an expectation that Jay White might be there, and in fact he was, and also a MJF night in Long Island, which you would think would be a lot of fun, and FTR and the Gun Club titles versus careers. So you'd think that would be, $1 million, $1.1 million. It went up about 40,000 from the prior week. And I really want to see the quarterlies because I want to see how many people who realize that they left the TV on with the Big Bang Theory on turns shit off. And if it was actually down into the 700s again, like it was last week when Adam Cole and Daniel Garcia yielded a 719,000 for their Adam Cole's return match. Long awaited, anxiously anticipated. The GOAT, Adam Cole.
The GOAT. Yeah, more like the fucking sheep, Adam Cole.
Well, you know the difference.
Well, Todd brings up an interesting point.
Being from your Peloponnese.
No, Peloponnese guys are much bigger than Adam Cole, baby. But anyway, Todd Brantley says, and that's the comment king, Todd Brantley, he says is TK mad because WWE is running O2 Arena in London for Money in the Bank in July? Probably. I mean, shit. He wants to, outdo them, but I wouldn't be surprised, and it's not going to happen. Obviously, All In is definitely going to outdo Money in the Bank in terms of people in attendance, for sure. But still, Todd also says they should also sign Harry Smith. How they haven't signed him already is a travesty. I think there's something up with him, guys. Something's got to be up with him. I don't care what anyone says. The fact that WWE hired him and just fired him pretty fast, I don't know, man. He must have done something.
Harry Smith be a little crazy.
I've heard that too, actually.
I mean, he's still best friends with Teddy Hart. I mean, do you
Well,
want
that's his
that
cousin, bro.
backstage?
It's his first cousin.
I don't think that they really are first cousins.
No, they are. He's married. David Boy Smith married Bret Hart's sister. Which
and his other sister is married to a firefighter who's Teddy Hart's dad. So they are first cousins.
They're first
But
cousins.
listen, I've got crazy fucking cousins, and I wouldn't go around talking about how much that they're awesome and everything because they're fucking crazy. I've got cousins who I absolutely love and respect and have nothing but the best things to say about. Shout outs to my cousin Mike, who lives down in down in Southern Ontario and is like a huge part of the underground punk scene down there. Mike Adaptive.
Really?
Mike, I love you, buddy.
Mike Adaptive. No.
But like, I've got cousins who I don't associate with too, because they're fucking crazy. And I wouldn't be telling people how they're brilliant and how I love working with them and, oh, we should get them a job. No. Not a chance. Don't hire that cousin. That guy's fucking crazy. And if Teddy Hart is your cousin, that's what you need to be telling everybody when they ask. Yeah, no, I love Teddy. He's my cousin and I love him, but keep him the fuck away.
Well, do you think that has actually a lot to do with it, Chris? Maybe why Harry Smith is getting the shit end of the deals all the time?
I'm not sure if it might just be a situation that mental health is like a problem in the Hart family in general, because, they're definitely both a little nuts. I mean, Harry Smith is so talented. He's so big, and he's so marketable as the son of the British Bulldog. Like, somebody would have signed him if there wasn't something that we, the people in the background of all this, don't know about.
Like, there's definitely something. Like, there was a woman that was going to jump off a bridge somewhere, and like he stopped the car, and the police were let us handle this, and he ran out and he saved her. He did save her, but that wasn't his job, and it ended well, but it could have easily not. And he's just sort of a weird dude. And right now he's working with the Billington boys, which those are Tom Billington's kids or grandkids, the other British Bulldog, Dynamite Kid. Right. In some other news and notes, back to MLW, they are holding their battlegrounds now. They're doing their tapings. So actually some friends of this very network were in attendance. Big Ray Hernandez was there.
That's right. And Chavela Vera Cruz, Billy Ray Valentine, and A-Check Brown. The whole hustle crew were there.
That's right. Maybe even more. Who knows? But yeah, they were all there. So Taya Valkyrie was allowed to finish up her obligations. So she lost the MLW Women's Middleweight Championship. There is no other title for women in that. It's called the Middleweight Champion. She lost it to someone called like Old God Delmy or something like that, who not only did I not know her name, but I didn't recognize her photos.
That sounds like the Greek food dolmades.
And I might have it wrong, but it's a weird name. Aside from that, we know that Hammerstone suffered a groin injury.
Yep.
And there may have been some other injuries as well. I think Microman also had a concussion. So
Microman.
Yeah,
who the hell is Microman?
He's a midget wrestler, and he's basically the star of MLW now.
Oh, come on, Jeff.
Don't know. Come on, me. Listen, watch if you dare. There's nobody that's on TV more than Microman.
That's okay. I'll stay away from that promotion.
Yeah, hey, why don't you guys do an MLW show for him?
No. He should be don't you dare say that. First of all, he should be doing the shows. He watches it every week. I'm talking about Jeff.
You know what MLW should have done a few years ago is said, hey, WWE, let's make nice. How about some of the people that are in NXT that you're not really using but you think are pretty good? Why don't you send them on excursion to us and a couple of other top people, and we'll let you use some of our top stars every now and then, and it'll fill out our roster, and they'll get their reps in. They'll get to work more, and they can come on our road shows, like something like that. I don't know if they would have said yes or no. I agree, Todd. I agree. I watch MLW and
I love Todd, man.
Not for the enjoyment. I watch it to see what other wrestlers are doing and who's coming in and who's coming out and things like that. It's for
Todd.
research purposes and because I hate
Todd,
it.
You're the gift that keeps on giving, bro. Seriously.
Also, I'm not sure if it was Big Ray, but I did see somebody who was there live that said that the crowd reaction was more for Microman than anybody else on the card, including Fatu and Hammerstone. So
that's sad. I don't care what anyone says. I don't know who Microman is. I don't think I want to know. But why is he so over in MLW, Jeff? What's so special about him?
No, he's I mean, he's a midget that literally looks like a 2 foot tall baby. I mean, he's got, and he wears a luchador mask and he does little moves. I'm sure in 20 years it'll be considered little people abuse. But you know, and you know, but for now, I cannot possibly explain to you. They made a whole big deal about Saint Laurent that Microman was the biggest free agent signing, and Saint Laurent was going to wine and dine him and pick him up, and he would drive him around like on his bicycle. He'd be like, you know, on the basket or whatever. They'd be in a lowrider together. I mean, it was actually sort of funny if it wasn't so sort of exploitative. Anyway,
Saint Laurent's still like fat.
Oh yeah. Yeah, okay, and he wears his high in his Star David always out of a shirt, no matter.
I actually don't mind Saint Laurent because I used to speak to him a few years ago, and he was really cool with me. But damn it, stop this MRW shit already. I want to see Microman defeat Jacob Fatu.
I want to see Microman against Commander. Dream match.
Oh no, no, please, no more. Commander sucks. You can only do one move. That
is the forbidden doggy entrance.
The forbidden doggy flap?
Yeah, the forbidden doggy flap. Exactly right. All right. So a little bit more news and notes that are going to turn us into partly at least into the WWE realm. Drew McIntyre was pulled from SmackDown and from a meet and greet this weekend. Everybody, of course, is speculating it has to do with his contract, which doesn't expire for another 7 to 9 months. It's been reported that it's actually health reasons. And we do remember he was fighting through a back injury and was supposed to take some time off and didn't. And so right now I'm pretty safe in assuming that it is the back injury. And as I previously, I'll say reported, he's already re-signed an extension. And just remember that I reported that Logan Paul signed an extension. And finally today, the media is in fact acknowledging Logan Paul signed an extension. So I trust my source on that stuff. Other news and notes about some wrestlers around the world, but mostly WWE. Finn Balor injured himself. He has a torn calf muscle, in addition to getting 14 staples in his head at the match at WrestleMania. So he's going to be out of action for 6 to 8 weeks.
So in that match, he tore his calf muscle and his head?
No. Apparently the calf injury was incurred earlier and he worked through it.
Oh, wow. Hats off to him.
Yeah. Randy Orton is reported nowhere near ready to come back.
Shit.
Which is consistent with the type of injury he has. Charlotte is planning to take some time off, extended time off again. Roman is also planning to take extended time off again, and he's not currently scheduled to be at Backlash. Talked about Logan Paul retaining, and that brings us to Vince booking Raw and doing such a horrendous job that the people from Endeavor actually said, "Don't do that again." And tonight, it was rumored that Vince wasn't even in the building. He was not going to be a gorilla. He would still approve some large issue stuff, but he wouldn't get involved in the booking. And that Triple H would be back in charge. And so tonight, we'll certainly talk about that. And about the big, there's speculation about what the announcement might be. We here on this valiant group of people from the PWC said, we all had different opinions, of course, but we did mention, it's probably just going to be a rehash of what he said at Raw and maybe something about the draft. I mean, what else? It's certainly not going to be anything breaking kayfabe.
Right, and everyone was just speculating like crazy online, you know what I mean? Like, thinking it's going to be his goodbyes to WWE, but yeah, you're right.
I just love that on night one that there's finally somebody in the company that's like above Vince. They basically took a look at Vince working and were like, Vince, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
I hope that's true. We're just speculating, so we don't know if that's facts or not. But if
stealing
that's the
Chris's his skill for pulling tangents out of organic conversation. Speaking of get the fuck off, Endeavor already confirmed that there are going to be layoffs, and
yes,
we're not talking about talent necessarily. We're talking about staff. We're talking about consolidation of corporate departments. So employees of the companies that work in offices and cubicles and HR and IT and sales and media relations and all the other fun things, accounting, all logistics, all the fun things that corporations all have or outsource, that these companies now have together, and certainly don't need to keep all of the people. And who knows who gets the axe? You probably wouldn't have heard any of their names anyway. Which brings us to SmackDown, unless you guys have any news and notes that I missed.
Well, Todd says in the chat that Roman is taking time off because his back hurts from carrying WWE for the last 2 years.
I acknowledge that.
I acknowledge that too. As a matter of fact, I recognize that too. Shout outs to Rock Hard. Yeah. Put your ones up because he's the one, literally. But yeah, shout outs to Rock Hard, Jim Penders.
All right, Channel Attitude and the Hamin Media Group, Army and Universe. SmackDown, April 7th, 2023, comes to us from Portland, Oregon, and it opens up with an in memoriam for Bushwhacker Butch. Well done. And then we get back. Right? Yeah, then we get back to the Kevin Hart WrestleMania vignette that we've now seen 4 times at least. And so I was sort of dreading that we were going to start seeing WrestleMania recaps all through the night.
That's all right. It'll be the last time they do that this Monday.
I don't want to put money on that one, but I hope you're right.
I think they won't do it come Monday on Raw.
There will be recaps until Backlash.
Oh, the recaps, yeah, but as far as Kevin Hart goes, we won't see that intro again, I don't think.
Well, at least thankfully, this recap was of the entirety of WrestleMania. But if you think that ended all of the WrestleMania recaps, oh, no. Spoiler alert, it did not. But we open with Fight Night, people. Fight Night. The Brawling Brutes, Sheamus, Butch, and Ridge Holland against Imperium, Gunther with Giovanni Vinci, and Ludwig Kaiser. And I noted at this point, boy, this arena is using a lot of colorful lights. It looked good. Now, when they put on the Imperium, obviously it goes back to a black and white matte gray kind of look. But before that, it was looking pretty festive in there. And Portland was making a lot of noise.
Oh, no, definitely. I mean, the fans in WWE seem very excited for the product, man. And you know what? I don't blame them. And to be fair, I'm not going to jump ahead too much, but it felt like the show wasn't the greatest, but it was a much more organized show compared to Raw. That's for sure. It's like they went back on course after Monday's debacle.
It's amazing. You tell the 80-year-old man that he can't write professional wrestling in the year 2023, and then things go back to being better. It's shocking. I'm shocked. Shocking. Look at how shocked I am.
Right.
Crazy.
I mean, shout out to our friends at Wrestling Soup. Anthony Missionary Thomas typed, "It's like night and day from Monday to Friday," and I said it's like night and day on a different planet. I mean,
yeah,
it was that different. So anyway, very colorful light, as it points out. Butch and Vinci open up the match. They note that Gunther is in the midst of the 5th longest Intercontinental Championship reign in history, which is correcting me. For whatever reason, I thought it was the longest, but it just didn't seem right, and it's not. So he's in the top 5. Right now he is 5. I noted, and I sort of want to keep track of this because everyone says that NXT is a failure. 5 out of the 6 competitors in this match were NXT graduates. The only one who was not was Sheamus.
True. Absolutely.
I think that when people say NXT is a failure, what most of them are suggesting is not that NXT as a concept is entirely a failure, but that NXT itself hasn't actually built any superstars. Now, I mean, Roman Reigns was built in NXT, so everybody can fuck off with that narrative.
Same with Bray Wyatt, Seth Rollins.
Right. There's a number of people. No. Listen. You maybe can say Bray Wyatt. Seth Rollins was already an excellent professional wrestler when he was
in Ring of Honor.
NXT.
Tyler Black, right?
He was already an excellent professional wrestler. Same with basically everybody in this match. They were already good wrestlers by the time they got signed to NXT. So I think that's the narrative that most people are going with, is that, okay, they're able to bring already good professional wrestlers into the WWE system and teach them the WWE system, but are they able to actually build stars? And again, Roman Reigns was built in NXT, so everybody can fuck off with that narrative. But I do think that's the narrative people are going with when they say NXT is a failure.
Well, people need to remember it's developmental, no matter what people say. So to call it a failure is just not fair.
Well, in fairness, the people are a segment of the IWC, which is a small percentage of people to begin with. Yeah. Most people don't watch NXT, including some of those critics. And, you know, there is a mentality that everybody gets the job they want and everyone gets to be a star and the star in the job they want, which, of course, is a logical impossibility. But, you know, they can't keep those thoughts in their head at the same time. Like, I see people saying that Cody is being buried right now. Buried? What the hell are you talking? He's in the A story. He's on TV every week. He's being referenced on shows he's not on. That's not buried. Tamina is buried. Dana Brooke
he's far and away the biggest babyface in the WWE right now, and it's not even close. Why would you call him buried? What?
Tozawa buried. I'm going to keep giving examples until people understand. Cedric Alexander. Buried,
dead and buried, shall we say?
Yeah.
Also, let's go ahead and cover this because I've been seeing this same thing online so often the last week here that I'm baffled at the idiocy of people. Oh, he's being buried. He's being fed to Brock Lesnar. If you would have told Cody Rhodes 3 years ago, hey Cody, you want to work a program with Brock Lesnar? He would have fucking flipped at the chance. He would have paid you to do that booking. He would have said, "Here, I'll give you my firstborn child if you'll let me work a program with Brock Lesnar." Yes, even Cody Rhodes for
the Miracle Child.
Seriously though, like
Destiny.
He's in a program with Brock fucking Lesnar. Shut up. He's not buried.
Yeah, but that is not what buried means. I mean, that is like saying that Harvey Keitel always plays a bad guy. And he always loses in the end, so he's buried. No, that's not how it works.
No, that's right. The
comic like saying Luke Skywalker was buried when Darth Vader chopped off his hands. I mean, no, it's part of his hero journey.
Wait till the end of the story.
Right.
Vince's NXT is Todd, by the way, saying this. Vince's NXT was a failure. Hunter's NXT was not. Absolutely spot on. I mean, Vince's NXT was like a game show. I mean, seriously, when you think about it.
Yeah.
Remember the shit they used to have to do, man? Carry like a beer fucking kegs around the fucking ring, like really?
Well,
thank God Endeavor was there on night one and told him to fuck off.
How many people on TV tonight or referenced came out of NXT, so that we can have a gauge of it. Because I look at NXT more as colleges to NFL players or the minor league system.
Right, that's what it is.
Most of them aren't going to make it. That's just the way it is.
Now, it's more like the D League of WWE.
Yeah, maybe they'll have careers in the indies and then work their way up and prove themselves later on. But they're not all going to make it and not supposed to, because if you had 2.5 rosters or 3 rosters worth of talent on WWE, 2/3 of them would be buried, you know, because nobody wants more WWE programming on per week. I know I don't. I'd go crazy. But yeah. So anyway, this match is largely what you think it would be. It was Butch and Vinci who opened up the match. They mentioned that Ridge Holland was a former rugby player. I noted that he must have been taking notes from the Blackpool Combat Club, who call themselves from Blackpool, because even though no one's from Blackpool, because he used a move called an Alabama Slam, and he's nowhere near from Alabama. So maybe they can just trade those letters, and maybe it would make more sense.
The Alabama Slam has been around for many years.
I'm not sure that he's Dutch, but he uses the last name Holland. So come on now.
True.
Oh, wow,
I'm not even sure he's a whole. Belong that comes from that land, but you know, lots of people use the same moves but give them different names.
Well, yeah, it's true. I mean,
like the rock bottom is not called the rock bottom.
It's the Uranagi. It's a freaking Uranagi, really. That's what
the Storm Zero, which is a pile driver.
A pile driver, right?
That is my point. That they could give him. It could be the Hadrian's Wall. Whatever.
And the moonsault from the outside, from the middle rope to the outside of the ring is an acai moonsault, really.
Wow.
There you go.
That's
which
amazing.
is Ultimate Dragon. Ultimate Dragon invented that move.
Where else are you going to get insight like that, people? You're going to get that from the vet? Yeah, probably.
You probably would. Shout out to the vet.
And then
So,
some.
During the course of this
Exactly.
match, Sheamus and Gunther were rarely in the ring together in the opening segments, but Gunther repeatedly took cheap shots at Sheamus when he was at the apron. So that was sort of the story simmering over it. Finally, the crowd gets what they want, and Sheamus and Gunther face off in the match, both as illegal competitors. They have the to and fro, exactly what you think it would be. Sheamus puts Gunther, on the ring apron, draped backwards against the ropes, and does his multiple smashes to the chest, to the count of 10, and the crowd counts with him. At some point, Sheamus delivers a white noise. Gunther kicks out at a 2 count. Sheamus does a springboard knee, actually does a running knee, sort of his V-trigger, like a half a bro kick to Vinci when he's in the ring and springboarding off the ropes to do a flying move, but he gets caught. Sheamus then hits the bro kick on Vinci, gets the 3 count, and the Brawling Brutes win in what I thought was a pretty fun match and furthered the Gunther-Sheamus story, which I'm good with because they always deliver. Jimmy, that's your cue. What did they deliver?
What, the banger after banger after banger. That's what they did, and that's what they did. After banger.
Yeah, that's the one. There you go. That's it. So,
I love it, man. Sorry.
I'm going to turn over to Chris first because Jimmy got to do his famous impression first. So.
Oh, this was great. Actually, I was sitting around just watching this, and when I first saw, okay, it's gonna be a 6-man match to start, and I thought, oh, here we go, another long night of professional wrestling, and I was very surprised at how much I enjoyed this match. They kept me right through. Everything that they did, I like every single person in this match. I think every single one of these guys is legitimately a good professional wrestler. Butch obviously has a little bit of a size problem for me and for Jeff, but he plays it well. He plays it as a guy who's smaller than everybody, but he makes up for it by being a fucking savage. He's the Wolverine of this group, and he makes up for it. He does a good job.
That's exactly right, because he does make up for it by his savageness, and even the finger spot was great on Gunther. Loved that, man.
And what a relief and what a pleasant change that the show more or less started with a wrestling match.
Yeah. True. Well, yeah, and I felt like there were a few matches on this night where, as wrestling matches go, they weren't exciting to hear about. I mean, even we'll get into it, but I mean, even the next match that's on the card, it was a match that if you would have told me, okay, this is what they're going with on tonight, I would have went, eh. But the match was actually really good, and they went out and they worked hard and they told a story and they got me interested. And I actually, by the time this was finished, I honestly found myself sitting here going, I kind of wish this match was a little longer. So good for them. They did a really good job, especially coming out of Monday night, which was such the drizzling shits.
Spiral Gyro, Jimmy, what do you think?
I liked the match also. I won't say it was the best match, but it was a great match to start off a show like SmackDown. But like Chris said, I was thinking, here we go. It's going to be a long fucking show. But no, they impressed me. You know what? Can we say, guys, that Ridge Holland is kind of underrated in the ring? I think he's a lot better than anybody gives him credit for. No one talks about him, but I think he's pretty good.
They talk about him badly. Too. I mean, he's only remembered for one thing.
For Big E, right. And that's unfortunate, man. Because he gets death threats online, which is ridiculous, man. Shit happens. It ain't ballet, folks. All right, shit happens. Jesus. And it won't be the last time
people get injured in professional wrestling.
Exactly.
But I will say that, I mean, this was one of the first times I've seen Ridge Holland work, just because until I got invited on this show, I basically avoided WWE like the plague. And I feel like I'm just coming on at the right fucking time. But
you are.
I will say that of the 6 men in the ring, Ridge Holland was clearly, far and unquestionably the weak link out of the 6 of them.
Absolutely right.
He's not nothing. Right. There's definitely something there, but in terms of like comparing him to the rest of this match, he was definitely the weak link.
No, I agree. But he's improved a lot, I feel, compared to like a year ago. Put it that way, even more than a year ago.
He's a solid guy on the roster, and this act works. I don't see him ever being a breakout star, but I could always see him being a useful member of a faction, an enforcer type or whatever. When he first was coming up and Braun Breaker was first coming up, I'm like, well, wow, put those two together and you could have a new version of Steiner Brothers, just on the way they wrestle so hard and with a lot of clotheslines and power moves. Nothing about Frankensteiners or anything like that. But anyway, yeah. So before we go to break,
just a sec, Jeff. This is I'm just getting this now. Since you mentioned him, Scott Steiner has just announced that due to recent events, he'll actually be changing his name to Scott Breaker.
Wait, that's a rib, right, Chris? Obviously,
100% it's a rib. Yeah,
right. I was gonna say I almost believed it there for a moment.
you know what? I should have told you it's true that I second sourced it and just
no, not that he was.
Jimmy would have spent the
next
hour going, "What the fuck is fucking going on here?"
It's one thing embarrassing you on the PWC, but another thing, on the Channel Attitude and Hamin Media Group. That's
Come on.
When I'm the host, I have to be
No. But I did think, like, I was thinking legitly, like, did he actually write that on Twitter, like, for real? Like, you know what I mean? Not that he will change his name to Breaker, but it would be fucking funny though. Actually, speaking of that. What's going on with Rick Steiner? Has anything come out with him, like, about it? Like, I don't know what to believe about this.
Nothing more has come out, but
one official who also works for the same company as Giselle Shaw came out to say that they were also witness to it. But there are also people who were there who said they didn't see anything. So
really,
how many people do we have who said didn't see anything? A number of them, 30-ish people who have said, I didn't see anything, I didn't hear anything. And 2 people who both work for the same company said that they did see it. So right now, it's very much a he said, she's, well, he said, Giselle said situation. And,
sounds like a gazelle.
That's the situation that we're in. So I mean,
Jimmy, put on Pierre's most recent comment because that's an interesting one. I think a lot of people, including myself, that was my knee-jerk reaction as well. Pierre says that video proof. It's 2034. There has to be video proof. And believe me, I thought the same thing. You're not allowed to use your camera phones at the WrestleCons now. How do they enforce that? Do they enforce it? I can't. I've never been to a WrestleCon. I don't know that, but it is against the rules. So, I doubt that people have to turn in their phones and go into lock boxes and give valet tickets and get them and stuff like that. It's a lot of liability. So, I'm also suspicious that nobody snuck out their phone or even just recorded it, just the audio. But that's the information I have.
But it's not even that. We have a number of people who said, I didn't hear anything like that happen. It's a wrestling conference. It's probably in some little gymnasium at somebody's fucking high school. These other people didn't hear him. But from what Giselle Shaw said, he was screaming it at her, basically. He was yelling it at the top of his lungs to her, so much so that she didn't even know who it was who was saying it to her at first, and she just walked away, and she asked somebody else who it was, and they told her that it was Rick Steiner. Nobody else heard. Just you and an official for the company that you work for.
Exactly.
And another indie wrestler said that she was there and she heard it. But again, it's the same thing. This is your team. I have no idea the size of the venue, what was going on, how big a venue it was, how loud it was, if it was a room where you could reasonably be expected to hear everything, or if it was like the show I went to in Hamburg where I met the Dollar Club wrestling guys, where definitely if there was any sort of noise going on that you wouldn't necessarily be able to hear much if you were 200 feet away or whatever. So I don't know.
Well, guys, actually, I can't remember who mentioned this, but when we first discussed it, someone brought up, probably in the chat, that apparently you're not allowed to bring Well, you're not allowed to record anything in these events, whatever they are. What do you call them? What are these things called again? Because I've gone blank for some reason. No, the event.
WrestleCon?
WrestleCon, that's it.
Yes, we just had this discussion.
I know, I know, but apparently you're not allowed to bring in a camera phone.
But I'm hosting now, and you're still not listening to me.
No, listen. Did you mention about how you're not allowed to record in these places?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I didn't hear. I might have been coughing right as you said it because I muted myself at the time. I didn't hear that. So if that's the case, right, like you said then why are we not... Well, why would we get evidence? That's the thing, right?
Well, we might not, but that's just it. We don't have any evidence. So what we have is a number of people said, I saw it, I heard it. A number of people saying, I didn't see it, I didn't hear it, and I was close enough that I should have been able to hear it or see it if it happened. I doubt very much that Rick Steiner is going to come out and say, yeah, this totally happened. And you're going to wind up in this situation where here we are, and it's he said, Giselle shed. So
Giselle said,
whatever. So I don't know. I don't know. Like, what do people really expect to hear about this? Like, everybody who runs a wrestling company who is liberal or wants to keep their liberal friends happy, they're going to immediately jump to Rick Steiner is guilty. Fuck him. He's canceled. We never want to see him again. And for everybody who's not that way, they're basically going to wait it out and they're going to see what happens. And if there's a lot of noise about it, then they'll cancel Rick Steiner too in order to keep the peace. And if there's not, then expect to see Rick Steiner in a year or so.
Right.
Didn't WWE
expect that? I assume Rob Black has already contacted him to show up, and probably MLW has been on the phone.
And plus, WWE showed him on television, man, the next night in the Hall of Fame. So if he was getting such bad heat, why would they even put the camera on him?
WWE tends not to worry. They just keep rolling on, generally. They just keep rolling on.
Unless it becomes a big deal. That's when, they comply, per se.
Right. In other sort of related and wrestling horrible story news, Vicky Guerrero has deleted all of her Twitter and social media accounts.
Yeah,
woof,
wow.
Man. Woof, what a situation.
That's the only news on that. So before we go to break, there's a recap of Brock turning on Cody in that story. And during the commercials, it was noteworthy that shots were fired at The Rock as Fox airs promotions for the USFL on Fox starting next week. So
USFL? Is that bad?
Take that, Rock and XFL. Take that.
Wait. USFL is back? The one that Trump actually initially tried to buy out or whatever?
Yeah, he had a team in it. Yeah.
Right.
The New Jersey Generals. Herschel Walker actually played for that team.
Right. When did that actually come back into fruition?
A couple of years ago.
Really?
This might be its second or third season.
Oh, well, that's weird because I hear nothing about it these days at all. I hear about XFL still, but not the USFL.
This might be its first. Maybe it was called for COVID and they delayed it. I'm not really. I get confused with the AFL, which ran for half a season and was canceled, even though it was doing pretty well, and the XFL and the USFL. I mean, this.
Yeah, surprising.
It's just too much for me to even think about keeping up with. Like I said, I gave up sports for podcasting.
Oh, and by the way, Pierce brought up an interesting thing that we forgot to mention because I knew about this too, and I'm sure you guys probably did too. Jericho did say that Rick Steiner had always been a bully and threw his weight around.
So is Jericho.
Chris Jericho.
So's Jericho.
So is Jericho.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said who's Jericho. Yeah, well, apparently, I mean, I don't know, but whatever.
I mean, that was young Rick Steiner that could bully people and throw their weight around. I don't know that old man Rick Steiner, who can barely walk, still does it. Who knows? I don't know the man. I mean, I've seen him on TV since 1987 or something like that, but I don't know him.
True. What else can we say about that? Yeah, no, you're right.
Nothing. Let's get off of Rick Steiner.
Yeah. All right, so we come back and we get a recap of what happened to Cody on Raw on Monday. It was a rather lengthy recap, and at this point I was like, oh, God, I really don't need to see this again. And I was afraid we were going to get an entire night of recaps. Commentary doesn't know why Brock did what he did. They have no idea. Wade Barrett opines that maybe it's because Brock was mad that he was the first match on WrestleMania and didn't get to main event, which is laugh out loud stupid. Everyone knows that Brock loves to work first and go home.
Well,
also, that better not be the kayfabe reason. Like, they
don't
better
be surprised,
come up with something
Chris.
better. No. Listen,
don't be surprised, man.
Listen, I'm one of these people who thinks that this is great for Cody. I think everything is good right now. I like the direction that they're going with him. They need to have a better reason than that. If that's the reason, then somebody in creative needs to get a smack in the face.
Well, let's be realistic, right? I mean, what reason can they possibly come up with for him to do what he did?
I've given the reason. The reason is that Brock lost his chance to ever challenge Roman Reigns for the world title, the Universal title again. And
that's
so
true.
He was counting on Cody Rhodes to do it so Brock could challenge Cody Rhodes for it. And Cody Rhodes did not just lose for Cody Rhodes. He didn't just lose for the Rhodes family, for his father's legacy, for the WWE Universe, but he blew Brock Lesnar's near-term chance of winning too, because there was not a better chance. He doesn't see anyone around the locker room that could have beat Roman. And so he was counting on it. He's pissed, so now he's going to take out his anger on Cody.
That's fine and all, right? But the thing is, say Cody gets the next... Do you guys think he'll be still the number one contender moving forward? Does he get another rematch very soon, say?
No.
I think Roman probably has at least one defense before he goes back to back to the Cody.
To Cody, against Cody, though, Chris.
No, he said before it gets back to Cody.
No, I think before it goes to Cody, Roman defends at least one more time against somebody else.
All right. If that's the case, fine, but it's still lazy, in my opinion, if they go that route. And you're probably right, Jeff. That's the only logical fucking thing they can go down right now.
They're probably going with what Wade said. I mean, when they give us something like that and it's lazy, I'm going to go with the lazy thing. But mine isn't that creative, but it's sort of an obvious story. At least it's consistent with wrestling and something that could be. It's certainly more viable than Brock was mad that he was the opening match and not the main event. Come on, now.
That was stupid. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if that's the case, he should have been mad at the other 5 matches that were between him in the main event, or the other 4 matches that were between number 1 and number 6.
He should have come out and taken Asuka to Suplex City in that case.
There you go, absolutely.
Wow.
So they turn it to Kayla, who's with Paul Heyman and Styles, and she is basically going to ask the same question. Now, the crowd was booing from the arena, obviously, and they were backstage. But Paul Heyman says, no, there will be no booing. And Kayla asks, do you know why Brock Lesnar did what he did? And basically, Paul recites the Manish Tanah, saying, why is tonight different than any other night? And, saying, I don't know why Brock Lesnar did what he did. And he immediately pivoted to Roman Reigns and his achievements. And at that moment, Jey Uso sort of sidles up and he's all happy. He's going, hey, main event Jey Uso, good that you're here. And Jey's like, yeah, what's up? How's it going, guys? You all know where Jimmy is? You know where Jimmy is? And Paul informs him that Roman ordered Jimmy to stay home and watch on TV because Jey is going to take care of the Sami Zayn problem all by himself. When main event Jey Uso finally solves the Sami Zayn problem all by himself. He can't say solo because Solo's standing right next to him. So then Jey exits, looking a little frustrated.
The thing that's stupid, like he doesn't know where his brother is, right? I'm sure they live pretty close by, right? Just say hypothetically.
They have telepathy. They're twins.
They're twins, exactly. They have telepathy. That was just pretty weak, like in my opinion. And even he's looking at Solo, who's also his brother, shoot brother, and he's like, "Do you know where Jimmy is?" Even though Solo didn't sell it at all, but still, it's just I just find it a little weak and lazy again with this storyline. I don't know why Jimmy was left off, but yeah, I don't like that part. But at least the bloodline is still a thing, and we're still rolling with it. That's the positive side.
Well, here's why they went with it this way. Now they could have done it differently, and I think that it would have made more sense. You're right, but they wanted to get the moment where, first of all, Jey asks, "Hey, have you seen Jimmy?" And there's a look between Solo and Paul, right? Then they wanted to get the moment afterwards where Paul says, "If Jey doesn't take care of business tonight, you take care of our problem." So that all kind of needed to be with Jey coming in and asking the questions, etc. I mean, it's not like it could have been set up a little bit better, but that's why they went with it this way, is so that they could set those two things up. Also, I wanted to mention, Paul actually never said, I don't know why Brock did that. He basically said, I don't know why you're asking me these questions. These questions are ridiculous, and I'm going to pivot to something else. I'm going to ask. I'm going to answer the question that I want to answer, which is perfect, Paul Heyman. And also,
I'm going to pass over that question.
Yeah, I mean, wonderful. Love Paul Heyman. Just
also
so much.
Because it's Passover, and he's a Jew.
That's a good call. Absolutely, that's spot on. And
happy Good Friday to all of those who celebrate, and happy Passover to all of you who celebrate that, and any other holiday that might be falling during this.
It is the Easter edition, right? Or the Good Friday edition of the Smack Attack. And I do want to point out, happy Easter. If we don't, actually, we will see everybody again tomorrow. Well, not see them, they'll see us for Uncaged. But I want to say also about the Paul Heyman part, don't be surprised. Exactly. Don't be surprised if Heyman does have something to do with this with Brock.
Well, we're supposed to think that. Again.
Right, and he's playing up on that too. So.
Because remember, there's always a plan B.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually a great point. And when you say plan B, plan Brock. You know what I mean? B for Brock. Hopefully they're that smart to actually play up on that. I know Paul Heyman is, that's for sure.
Well, as Chris pointed out, Heyman says to Solo as after Jimmy walks out, either he solves the problem or you do, which was a good line. And Chris is right. The reason they set it up is we needed to see all of it on screen. And the interview with Kayla was so that the crowd could react as opposed to doing one of those recorded scenes in a locker room or in their special suite. All right, we come back and Ricochet makes an entrance. He's coming in solo, gets a pretty good reaction from the crowd, and he is facing Ivar, who's not alone with Valhalla, but not with Eric. Which was sort of interesting, I suppose, that neither Braun nor Eric were there. No complaints. This match was exactly what you would think. It was a contrast in styles, speed and agility versus power, but surprising agility for a big man. At some point, there's Ricochet tried a suicide dive. Ivar caught him mid-leap and slammed him down, and then placed him at the bottom of the ring apron and gave him one of those splashes. And that's, of course, where we went to commercial, and we learned that when we came back that Ivar's been basically manhandling Ricochet the entire time and slowing the pace, which is what he should do. Ricochet, he tries to, at some point, he gets back into an offensive position, but Ivar has been working on his midsection and his back. And so Ricochet tries to do basically a leg press, squatting Ivar up, presumably for a what looks like it might have been a Samoan drop. Everyone lost Sikaria. Everyone lost Sikaria. Hey. But his back gave up on him, which was a decent spot. Ivar goes to the top of the turnbuckle about as slow as anyone could humanly do so. Though, if you know what Ivar looks like, and I hope you do, it almost wasn't ridiculous given the circumstances. Almost, I say. Now, if you followed War Machine's career, it is ridiculous. Anyway, Ricochet takes advantage of this timing, eventually leads to a shooting star press where Ricochet gets the W, and nobody runs out. There's no Eric, there's no Braun, none of that. Valhalla stops at the ramp with Ivar basically taking a knee, and Valhalla has her hand on his head looking up. She looks displeased, and Ivar looks scared. It looks like, maybe he's going to suffer from the wrath of the gods.
Can I just say R.I.P. to the Vikingo Raiders? I mean, seriously. R.I.P. They're done. The fact that Ricochet was about to pick up Ivar was just, oh my God. Like, really? They're
very
done.
Strong.
He's strong with the finger too. But, seriously, they're done. I mean, can we say that the Viking Raiders are actually officially jobbers now? The Viking jobbers? You can't come back from this.
No. Can we strongly suspect it? Yes.
I don't care who you are. A guy that big should not lose to a little mini-me like Ricochet. All right? I don't care. It's not realistic, man. It just shouldn't.
I honestly think that all this team really needs is about a 30-second video every week for the next 3 weeks talking about how what the fuck are they calling her, Valhalla, which doesn't make any sense.
Valhalla.
Doesn't make any sense. They should just call her Freya or something. Which intelligent people do with their children. But anyway, honestly, for the next 3 weeks,
people use it as a singular before.
Yeah, well, there you go. But basically, remember when we were saying about how I laugh sometimes on camera?
Yeah, that's why I laughed.
Yeah. So, but anyway, what they really need is they need for the next 3 weeks to show us 30-second clips of Valhalla being pissed off and working on them and basically telling them, you're gonna have to be punished by the gods, etc. The gods are punishing them and they're getting them prepared, etc. The next time
sort
they
of like
come
the
out,
Miro,
sure,
storyline.
exactly, and then a month from now, you have them come out, you have them win a bunch of matches against jobbers or whatever, and they're right back to being a legitimate team again. It does not take much when guys look like that and can work like that to just tweak a tiny part of their gimmick and bring them back and have them be strong again.
I agree with you.
Will they? No,
that's the problem, right?
It wouldn't be impossible to make them something if you wanted to, and I think they're actually a really good team.
They are, but they keep starting and stopping with this team for some reason, and it leads to nowhere every time. So
which is why, I'm saying, they should just retool right now and just bring them back in a month and book them better.
Here's the problem. They sort of look like shit. Like if Ivar gave that extra 40 pounds that makes him look fatter than he is big and somehow converted it to Eric's body, they'd probably that would be a better looking team.
Ivar was very agile back when they were the War Raiders in New Japan. I mean, he could do like what did I call them?
War Raiders.
Oh, sorry, that's the WB name. I meant War Machine. Right, exactly. They were great in New Japan and Ring of Honor. I loved them back then.
Yeah,
they were killers, legitly. But this shit right here, as Cat Williams would say, no thanks. They can get their Valhalla on out of here, in my opinion, including
I agree.
Valhalla.
So let's knock them right out and go to KO staring at the unified tag team titles. Enter Sami Zayn, enter stage right. And he points out that Kevin is just sitting there staring at the unified tag team titles. And Kevin goes, I'm not staring
California
at them.
dreaming, Jeff.
I'm leering at them.
That's weird.
And it would be Oregon dreaming.
Well, no, they wanted me in California, though.
I understand, but they were in Portland.
That's true, but still.
Okay.
But the thing is, this is obviously leading...
Shithole dreaming, in other words.
Ooh.
I've never been to Portland.
Hear that, homeboy?
Now, I know it's in the state of chaos, but I think that usually people enjoy living in the Portland area. So I've heard.
Portland apparently is very nice. Apparently,
well, yeah, there's like a section of the city that basically the government ceded after some of the riots and thought it would just blow over, and apparently it didn't. It formed its own little commune.
Literally,
but since they don't actually produce anything, it's sort of a
bums.
commune of crime. So
yeah, and they're just bums, right? Like, yeah, whatever. Is that still a thing there? Legitly,
keep Portland weird.
I don't know the extent of it, but it is a thing. How much of a thing it is, I don't know.
Wow, I didn't know that was still
to me, covering Portland is almost like me covering Vancouver. It's like, far
similar. They're right next to each other. Anyway.
It's none of my business, really.
Right. No, but yeah, this is weird because I feel like Kevin Owens is gonna eventually get jealous of Sami Zayn and his attention towards the Usos and whatnot, and then he's gonna turn on Sami eventually, and that's how they lose their belts.
Could be. I mean, Kevin Owens is the medium show.
Absolutely. I mean, it's obvious. This is where they're going. So I'm going to put this question out to you guys. Do you think this is going to be a lot more of a shorter run than we think?
Well, how long of a run do you think?
I don't know. It's a good question. Could it be as short as, say, a month?
No.
Okay. I don't know. I just find it interesting that they're already planting seeds of, like dissension between the two of them.
They'll keep it for a quarter at least, and that's all they need it for. They don't need to keep it for any longer than that.
But they're keeping us guessing with, is Paul Heyman Plan B with Brock? I mean, what Roman doesn't fully trust all of his troops, except he seems to trust Solo, but he doesn't quite trust Jimmy and Jay. So you have the same thing on this side. Even Sammy's conflicted.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, we'll get to that very shortly. So anyway, Kevin Owens discusses with Sammy that he's got a great opportunity. He should be excited about his big match, main eventing, against Jey Uso, that he can finally put the bloodline behind them by defeating Jey. Sammy feels that something just feels off. Sammy's always overthinking things when he gets into his Woody Allen mode, when he gets into his neurotic Jewish comedian, shtick from the late 70s through the late 80s. He just wants to talk to Jey, and Kevin Owens scoffs at this idea and says, "Listen, if you think you're gonna have a nice chat with Jey, you're crazy. Don't you know what's going on here? It's a bad idea. Don't do it. Just listen to me." And Sammy's like, "I know you're right. It's a bad idea, but I'm going to do it anyway." And Kevin's like, "I can't believe he's going to do it." So that was that segment. So that sort of furthers what we were talking about before. But if anyone has any other thoughts on this segment of this conversation, feel free.
Go, Chris. You can go first. Anything to...
No, I mean that pretty much covered the segment. It's it's Kevin Owens basically playing the listen, I've already told you 6 times that this isn't going to work, and can we just fucking move on? Basically right now Kevin Owens is playing the friend telling his friend, "Man, she's not good for you. Don't even fucking talk to her. The relationship's over. Stop fucking texting. Stop having hookups. Get the fuck away from her. She's crazy."
It's true. That's exactly.
You're not just going to be friends.
Yeah, and eventually it's going to break them down because of Sami Zayn's, thing with the Usos. So it's obvious. That's what's going to lead them to losing the belts. 100%.
It's very Beverly Hills 90210.
Yeah, absolutely.
So next we see a still smiling and still back posing Raquel Rodriguez coming out, and then Liv's music hits. So this is a tag team match. This is a tag team action. Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan are the number 1 contenders, so it's a title match, right? Wrong. They're facing Natalya and Shotzi. Why?
Yeah.
Why would you have them even possibly lose before their title match? That's stupid. Unless you're playing a 6-way. Well, apparently Natalya and Shotzi want to prove that they're on the same level and they're worthy of a title shot as well. Okay, because they've teamed now, 3 times together? So anyway, we go to commercial and we see that A&E has Superstar Sunday, WWE Superstar Sunday with biography, this week featuring Dusty Rhodes, and on Rivals, it's going to cover Randy Orton, the Legend Killer, against The Undertaker. So that's lined up for Sunday if you're interested. We see Shotzi and Natalya's entrance. The Tank is back. Commentary mentions Bushwhacker Butch's passing, which was, a classy second mention.
I'm glad they did that, actually.
Yeah. Wade Barrett mentions that they were one of his favorites as a kid.
Not one of my favorites as a kid as the Bushwhackers. I liked them as the Sheepherders. But, the Bushwhackers, I was indifferent even as a kid.
Yeah, I didn't much like the Bushwhackers, to be honest with you. They were too goofy for me. Basically, does anyone think that anything has happened except that Natty is coaching Shotzi, and at the end of this run, she's going to tell them whether she has potential or not, or whether she...
Exactly. She's on trial right now, Jeff. I think she's on her last... Because basically, Natalya has a lot of power. She pretty much can make you or break you in WWE. And if she doesn't like you, she talks to the higher-ups and she'll get you fired, pretty much. Yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me. You might be onto something there, Jeff.
She's very much the player coach. She is sort of the same role that Dolph and Drew play with the men.
Right, absolutely. I agree.
She's been the class of the division since she stepped in. And
15 years ago.
Yeah, that's it. Think about how long she's been there. there are lots of people on this roster right now who everybody, considers to be Hall of Famers and this, that, the other thing. Lita basically had a career in the ring that was like 3.5 years long. I mean, she for the most part, she was a valet. She had an occasional match here and there, but her actual in-ring career was about 3.5 years long.
She did have a run in Mexico and ECW also, though, before WWE.
I need to add something very important about Lita. Side boob.
Right.
But her neck, man. Her neck, though, looks so
We're talking
old.
about now. We're talking about then.
Right,
side
right.
boob.
I know. That's true.
Yeah. But, anyway, to continue my point, sorry, my kid needed a hug. But, think about how long Natalya's been there, been active, been a major part of who's building and who's not building and who is staying on the roster and who can't stay on the roster. I mean, when this is all said and done, somebody needs to seriously have a conversation about how close to the greatest of all time in the women's division is Natalya.
Oh, let's give her flowers. Let's be honest, okay? I mean, yeah, we shit on her now, right? But she is possibly in the argument of one of the greatest female wrestlers in history. I mean, her younger version of herself was pretty damn good. Today, she's just, she's just putting everyone else over. That's what her job is. But she truly is the Undertaker of the female division. There's no doubt about it. That's a fact. I mean, there's been plenty of reports that she actually makes or breaks them. Even on Total Divas, they actually showed that she does that, where she talks to upper management if any particular female wrestler is good or not, and if they should hire him or not, or fire him or not.
I agree. All right, so this match was, listen, the match wasn't terrible, but it was sort of exactly what you would think it would be. So Natty and Shotzi are setting up for the Hart Foundation's famous finisher, but Raquel prevents that. And with her preventing it, Liv comes in for a tornado DDT into the oblivion, so the faces win. So Natty and Shotzi did not prove themselves as being worthy of a title shot, and Raquel and Liv win a match, continuing momentum, or gaining momentum anyway, for their big title match against Becky and Lita on Raw. Where does Trish stand in all this? I don't know.
No, this is clearly leading to some sort of turn with Trish, especially after Monday night. She didn't say nothing, if you remember. When they asked her a question, she just didn't say nothing and walked off.
All right, so this was match 2. So Raquel came out of NXT. Shotzi came out of NXT. Liv, I think, came out of NXT as well. Natty,
Shotzi did have a pretty decent name on the independent circuit, though.
But she still came out of NXT.
Of course, right. But it's sort of like the Seth Rollins sort of thing, too.
Oh, it is. I mean, first of all, I don't really. I didn't feel like arguing about it, but I don't really care either. He still came out of NXT, but Seth Rollins had an extremely successful. Shotzi had a couple years where she was like,
she was making a name for herself, but she's known for the same thing over and over, including in WWE. Right. She just doesn't know how to work properly, man. All she does
even
is
this finish. She took the what the fuck is Liv's finisher called again?
The Oblivion.
Okay, she took the Oblivion, and it basically looked like she just took like a really slow, soft face bump. Like she went to her knees first and then fell over. Is that the way this bump is supposed to go? Because it looked like shit. She does not
know how to work, man. That's the problem. Like she has something about her, right? But she does not know how to work, and I don't think she'll ever learn properly how to work.
She's got a really cool entrance, but
absolutely,
you can give someone else that entrance.
And
she's got something, yeah, absolutely. She's got something about her, right? And I think everyone thinks they can mold her into a star. The problem is you could, but she needs to learn how to friggin' work, and unfortunately, it just
Nathan Jones looked great too,
right? But he sucked.
In a bit of a half-hearted defense, which is also an indictment as well, I think that one of the things Natty is telling her to do is slow down, that she's moving too fast.
Maybe.
She looks clumsy and reckless out there. So
absolutely
maybe she's taking that too much to heart. So, we'll see. All right, so next we see Xavier Woods and Madcap Moss still playing video games, still playing WWE 2K23. This time Emma is arm candy for Madcap Moss, and they're in the same room. And LA Knight interrupts again. saying that they're playing cockamamie games, so extra points for cockamamie. And then it's like they're not in the room. He's talking about how could you have WrestleMania in LA without LA Knight? That was a glaring omission. Xavier Woods says, why are you always complaining? Why don't you make opportunities like I did and make something for yourself instead of complaining? Now, Xavier Woods was hosting some sort of stupid ass.
He wasn't even on WrestleMania, so I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
And I'm pretty sure the year before they just did like those squirtum gun things. They had that ridiculous segment with the super soaker.
Xavier Woods, who has won all of 0 singles championships in 15 fucking years, is telling somebody else how to go about their business.
Well, he should have won the NXT Women's Championship in a way.
Whatever.
He laid claim to it.
Right, well, yes, that's
he marked his territory.
But unfortunately, he lost that match because it was good old Max, whatever his name was, that ended up winning the League Championship.
You missed the joke, Jimmy.
No, I don't. The belt got desecrated. I know exactly what he's talking about. Yeah. But it wasn't him that won it, unfortunately. It was the other guy. Fertilized. Ew, that sounds even worse. Fertilized. Yuck. But anyway, the point is, unfortunately, he lost that matchup, which is a hard-fought match.
Yeah, hard.
Yep. So LA Knight challenges Xavier Woods to a match. You want me to prove myself? I'm going to prove myself. And then he destroys the game controller, which I forgot.
That was good. I like that.
Yeah. And then it's what we've all been waiting for. Triple H is gonna come back. So we come back from commercial. Triple H gets a huge ovation. Michael Cole says, one of the greatest of all time, now running this place.
Yeah, they emphasized that, which is surprising. I don't know if that's a little dig at Vinnie Mac after Monday night.
I mean, I don't know if it's a dig at Vinnie Mac, but it's as close to breaking kayfabe as they're going to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was Michael Cole going, yeah, just so everybody's aware, he's the guy who's running it. Not Vince McMahon. That old guy, he got told to fuck off. He's the guy who's running it. This guy right here in the ring with the bald head and the beard. Here's the guy running WWE right now.
Yeah, as if we could have figured it out from how the show was progressing already. It was much more fast-paced and then interesting. But I think it was probably Michael Cole saying,
definitely,
I'm free again. I was in prison all this time, and then I got freed, and then they put me back into prison for 4 days, but now I'm out again, and I'm really happy about it. I'm so excited, I just can't hide it. So anyway, it's announcement time. And basically, with a tear in his eye, he's talking about WrestleMania was great and how it broke all these records, blah, 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 blah. WrestleMania is where hearts are broken and dreams are fulfilled. Records were set, over 161,000 fans in attendance. They broke all records for merchandise. There were 1 billion digital views this week alone. I don't even know what that means.
Well, obviously through social media and everything, YouTube, just everything in general, clearly.
And it's definitely an overestimation of everything because there are 7 billion people on the planet, and not 1 billion of them looked at this. Come on.
It's probably some people did it on loop and whatever. Anyway, his announcement is that in the 2023 draft is upon us in a few short weeks. Didn't tell us how many weeks are. We don't really know what short means. I mean, Veer was coming for 10 months. I hope he checked with his doctor about. We'll see. But he did say everyone is eligible.
If you have an orgasm that lasts for 10 months,
that's pretty
check
good,
with your
actually.
doctor.
Absolutely.
Right, but hey, I wouldn't be complaining. Imagine that, but you'd be like, oh, shit.
You wouldn't be complaining.
I don't know.
I'd be fucking complaining. After 10 months, you better believe I'd be like, Jesus Christ, man, I just want to get back to life now. I want to go eat a fucking sandwich in public.
There is too much of a good thing.
That's way too much.
You're walking down there, it's like, man, that must be a good sandwich. Is that a sausage hoagie? You just happy to see me. Anyway, everyone is eligible. Everyone. And it will absolutely change the game. Talking about changing the game, he introduces Rhea Ripley, the Eradicator. That is not going to stick.
What the hell is that? I was even like, what the hell, the Eradicator?
It is at least too many syllables.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. That's kind of weird, but
It sounds more like the Orkin man, like the if you have like you have cockroaches or ants, you call the Eradicator.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
And
shit.
Rhea Ripley is a cool enough name all by itself. Like, you don't have to fuck with that name. She's Rhea Ripley.
It's WWE though. They love their buzzwords, man.
Well,
on
she also
everybody.
has my brutality, so she can be the brutality. I mean, why come up with use the Eradicator on your next person?
Eradicator.
Or the
The
Brutalizer.
Exterminator. Right. That sounds like a
Brutalizer,
bad
fine,
porno too.
So she comes out with Judgment Day. So basically, they all take turns on the mic. Now Rhea gets cheered by fans, and she says
That was crazy, man.
Yeah, April 1st, 2023 was a historic victory. The day that Rhea did the impossible, something that's only been done 14 other times. She defeated the 14-time world champion. So obviously not the impossible, but okay, we'll give her a pass. And then she demands that everyone rises for her. And there's
Which
They do. I'm sure they do. Exactly.
a bunch of them did, a bunch of them booed, but it was sort of half and half. I mean, it wasn't all booze.
They weren't all limp dicks, Jeff. Come on
That's
now.
right. And then she hands the mic over to Finn. And he's still going on and on about Edge. And he talks about how he gets 14 staples in his head. And, who really won? Where's Edge? He's nowhere to be seen. And Finn Balor is still standing. Shut up, you little yap dog.
God. I agree. Shut up.
Reason number 9,000 not to invest in Finn Balor. We have 3 here. Staples
Can't
in his
talk.
head, broken calf, can't talk, boring, yap dog, can't cut a
And
promo.
enough's enough with this feud already. I get it. Long-term storytelling, but come on, man.
I mean, it's got to be
Enough.
over. He should have at least said that the Judgment Day is moving on to other things. We're done with him.
Right,
That
that's
chapter's
it.
closed.
Move on.
As far as I'm concerned, he should just declare victory and move on. It doesn't matter.
That's
All
it.
right. Then they give the mic to
Well,
Dom.
but you know why they're doing that, right? They're setting up the whole Bad Bunny's going to help with Rey Mysterio, the Judgment Day. The LWO will get there, but they'll get beat up or whatever, and then Edge will come out to save them or whatever. That'll be the big pop for Edge coming back for Puerto Rico.
And then
It's
the
supposed to be out for
Mexicans.
6 to 8 weeks, though. So I mean,
Why? What's wrong with him?
torn calf. We
Oh,
talked about
sorry.
that.
I thought you said
He's
Edge.
out
I
of
thought you meant
action.
Edge.
Like, he's out of action. Like, he can't get in the ring and work a match. But I'm pretty sure he can show up and hit somebody with a chair.
Well, I don't know.
Absolutely right.
It depends on what they're doing. If they're doing surgery, maybe not. If it's just rest, you could very well be right. All right, so Dom comes out, mega booze, mega.
Oh my
heat.
God!
This was
can we just
awesome.
Give
This
the
was
kid his flowers, please.
awesome.
We just did. Stop
I
telling
know,
us to
but-
give the kid the flowers when we just gave him a bouquet.
Never mind the
What do you
kid.
want?
I'm gonna give Jimmy his flowers.
thank you.
I'm willing
thank
now
you.
to accept that you might be correct about Dominic
Come on,
Mysterio.
man.
Like,
I've
the
been saying this
reaction
for a
that he
long
got
time.
here was nuclear heat, and I mean, like, this was like, guy could
The
barely
loudest
get
reaction.
his promo out. Heat and awesome, just fantastic. He did such a fantastic job with this too. It wasn't just the people booed. The people are booing, and his promo was the
brilliant.
stuff of nuclear heat. I only lost to my
Brilliant.
dad because I wasn't willing to really try to hit him after you tried to hit him
Perfect.
with a chain. Like, you're
That's-
just an awful little shit. And listen, if they can keep this kind of stuff going with Dom, then they might have like a serious mid-card star on their hands. They might have
Which is-
somebody who can be at that Intercontinental or US title, level for his whole career and be good at it.
He gets it, man. I'm sorry, but he really does. He gets it. And the thing is, not only was his promo great, but it was Pro Wrestling 101. It was chicken shit heel promo.
Yep.
You know what I mean? At its best. That's exactly. And I know he's got his daddy in his ear, obviously, telling him to probably be like that. But he did grow up in the business. The kid understands the difference between being a babyface and a heel. But boy, does he play the heel like an old school veteran. That was a throwback promo. Let's be honest. It truly was a throwback.
You know what it really shows me more than just about anything from this last couple of weeks here in professional wrestling? What it really shows me is that The way that you get the crowd invested in what's going on is you tell a fucking story.
Right.
Dominic Mysterio is not having 5-star matches ever.
No.
He's never going to have a 5-star match in his career. He doesn't have the coordination. He's fine in the ring. He's not bad.
No,
right?
he's not the worst guy, right?
Anymore.
Exactly.
He was bad a year ago. He was like obnoxiously bad a year ago.
I will agree with you.
But as a heel, he does just enough to stay in a match, and he's able to. He does the right things in the match. He cheats, and then he complains, and he does everything that you're supposed to do. Like you said, Jimmy, old school wrestling heel,
It really
and he's getting the biggest reaction on the heel side of the ledger.
Well,
old
you bring up an interesting point.
Works.
It's simple. You got to just keep it simple. That's the problem with professional wrestling as a whole. No one's keeping it simple, but Dom kept it simple, and that's exactly what's working. But can we say, is he the biggest heel right now in WWE and possibly in all of pro wrestling? Can we say that?
No, because Roman exists and he's technically a heel, but
right, but he still gets cheered though too.
Yeah, who gets the biggest heel reaction? At least over the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's Dominic Mysterio.
Absolutely,
nobody else in wrestling's getting that same kind of everybody fucking hates you and wants you to die reason. Yeah.
I don't think it's even X-Pac type of heat either. Like
it's not
go away heat. It's not.
No,
it's not.
This is the reaction that in their wildest dreams they wanted.
Oh, for sure, and it's worked for whatever reason. It's
working. I'm not even going to give my usual caveat and but here. I'm just going to let you take your victory lap. And I want to point out that the promo not only was it was old school thoughts, but he actually updated the language to be current with the whiny new generation. Because he said he didn't want to show oppression towards his father, not aggression. Sure. Said oppression, which is one of those catchphrases.
For sure.
So he held back and he pulled his punches. And as far as he could concern, the whole family can go to hell and they can take Bad Bunny with you. And with that, we get a recap of Bad Bunny's involvement in the WrestleMania, taking the chain when Damian Priest was trying to get it to Dominic, and Bad Bunny's involvement with Damian Priest at Raw and Dominic. And because Bad Bunny is not a contracted WWE superstar, we do not know his health status, but we're hearing it's unknown. But we're hearing he's in bad shape. So apparently he's not a local medical facility; he's on a secret one.
Well, Chris is asking a question, a random question, according to himself. But are there any NXT call-ups you wish to see drafted to the main roster? I say no one but Pretty Deadly are worthy. Yes, boy.
I don't even want to see Pretty Deadly on the main roster. They're
it's
too
not
skinny.
time right now.
I think they're too cartoony right now, and cartoony. I think they're too cartoony to do it. I don't know. I mean, you already have Maximum Male Mottos and the Viking Raiders, and what's left of the New Day are doing a lot of comedy shtick. The Creeds, maybe if someone could speak for them, but I'm not sure they're ready yet either. And Carmelo, but he's not coming up anytime soon because he just got the NXT Championship. Wesley, bring him up at any time. He's ready.
The thing with Wesley is too much like Ricochet, though, in a way.
He is a lot like Ricochet, but just put him on the different brand. I don't know. The other show.
It's not time for any call-ups right now from NXT. I think
I don't see it. There are women. Yeah. There's tons of women who I think could be called up. But I don't know what you do with them.
Women. Right, it's true. Too many over there. That's true.
So right now, Chris, I'd probably say no. I mean, I'm sure there will be. There almost always are. Probably as long as one of them is not Von Wagner.
I
think we can all agree it's not the right time, though.
No, I think that if they're going to do it, they need to wait until... I mean, there's always releases after Mania, and I mean, true. I think that you could probably release
Past regime, though. Past regime.
That's true. I mean, it could be different, but I mean, I think that it's a good time to refresh things anyway. Because, like you said, there, as we've talked about, there are some wrestlers and some acts, some tag teams even, who are basically lost. I mean, they're circling the drain. They do nothing but lose. You could get rid of some of these acts, and you could replenish the roster with a few guys from NXT. But is anybody from NXT ready in the way that like Samoa Joe was ready to come up to the main roster, or that Bobby Roode was ready to come up to the main roster.
Well,
no,
they're already veterans though by that point. To be fair.
Speaking of the way, one of the people who makes sense, not because she's necessarily a great wrestler, is Indy Hartwell. She can be back with her TV husband Dexter Loomis. She can reform the way, which was the only time that she was interesting. And she could be, her and Candice LeRae were an actual tag team. And they had NXT tag team titles, I think, twice. There are no real women's tag teams, and at least you could have one there.
That makes sense. No, definitely.
Yeah.
And
I'm not suggesting that they should win any titles, but they could be like Greg Valentine and Brutus Beefcake and just, be a challenger but never really win anything.
Well, can we say, though, about Indy Hartwell that have we been too hard on her?
No, we are not, just because she's Australian. She's stiff as
I couldn't stand Indy Hartwell either.
Hard. I mean, she's dull.
Right,
no,
but
we're not being
now,
too hard on her.
I think she's improved, though, suddenly. But
she's been there 27 years. She should.
That's true, too.
She's a zero.
The fact they gave her the NXT Women's Championship, though, is kind of weird, but it is what it is. Weird. I mean,
she's interesting as long as she's with Dexter Loomis.
Right, absolutely. Them two have chemistry for whatever reason.
Some things work together. Indy on her own, listen, let's face it. She's not particularly attractive, and, Jeff's rule, no boobs.
Well, yeah.
All right. So back to the segment. Then the mic is then turned over to Damian Priest, who says in Spanish that Dominic is his brother. And Bad Bunny, I hope you forgive me because I forgive you for making me do what I had to do to you. So that was the end of his promo.
Man, I've been saying since they brought the kid up, I don't see it with Damian Priest. He's got a lot of stuff that you want in a professional wrestler. He moves fine. He's got good size. He is awful on a microphone. Like, if he could talk as well as Dominic Mysterio, he could be world champion.
Isn't that crazy?
We're
hearing that.
He is very bad on a mic. Like,
tonight he was kind of unusually bad though. It seemed like he was hesitating maybe, or like kind of even stumbling on his words. So yeah,
I haven't seen a single promo
I've seen
from
him stumble worse on his words.
Yeah, I haven't seen a single promo from him that was even as good as Brock Lesnar promos. So,
and that's telling you something.
Yeah.
All right. So now what happens is Rey Mysterio comes down with the LWO. They're no longer Legado del Fantasma.
It's Legado World Order still though, not Latino World Order.
Maybe, but they said the LWO. All of them wearing LWO shirts except Rey, including Zelina Vega. The teams are Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio versus Dominic Mysterio and Damian Priest. Rey and Dom open it up, but Dom immediately tags in Damian Priest, a heel move. And all I've got to say about this match is that Santos looked absolutely great, but he had his shirt cut in a weird way, like he was like from the 80s in one of those like summertime movies where he cut the sleeves, but also he cut the midriff off. Like sort of
Stevie
how like
Richards,
do. He had
dancing
like
Stevie Richards.
Like the Blue Meanie.
Yeah, and Stevie Richards used to do the same thing.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. And
the LWO calling back to the BWO. Thank you very much.
Right, absolutely. Exactly. And shout out to Stevie, by the way. But
there was a point where Rey and Santos both did tope suicidas at the same time, and that was pretty cool. We went to commercial, and there was a commercial for Evil Dead Rises, and I gotta tell you, this looks like it's going to be a freaking awesome horror movie. It's scoring 96% on Rotten Tomatoes so far.
I haven't seen a good horror movie in a long time, and if that's good, I'll check it out. But can I say one thing, guys?
96%.
Nope, it's Chris's turn.
96% from who though? Is it the audience or the critics? Because lately, Rotten Tomatoes is like, you have to really go into there trying to figure out, okay, is this good? Is this bad? And it is often the case that the audience and the critics do not fucking agree about anything. Like, I think the Super Mario Brothers movie right now has like a 96% from the audience score and like a 48% from the critics. So,
well, what do you expect? It's a video game. So
isn't it cartoon format? It is, isn't it?
Yeah. It's you know, some sort of CGI animation type.
It really looks like the video game, legitly. But what was I going to say?
All Rotten Tomatoes means is that people liked it more than this. So it could be like they liked it, you know, on a score of 1 to 100, they would have given it a 51. That counts as, you know, a thumbs up on it. But still, 96 is it's pretty rare to see thing that high.
That's true. But can we point out back to the wrestling for a minute? I feel like Legado is going to turn on Ray. It just smells like it. They're going to lose in Puerto Rico, I feel, right, this time. Only because Dom needs to get the win. Bad
Bunny is going to lose in Puerto Rico?
Yeah, you crazy?
True. That's true. Actually, you're right. But I feel like they need to get the win, though, man.
Will eventually turn on Ray,
right.
Sure.
Forget what I said. You're right. The Bad Bunny ain't losing in Puerto Rico. But then again, WWE have been funny, though, about certain things. Like, look what they've been doing.
Not about that.
Yeah, no, you're right. I agree 100%. He's not losing in Puerto Rico. No chance at all.
So, commentary when we come back from break references Eddie Guerrero formed the LWO in 1977. I'm sorry, 1997.
1977,
right.
Wow.
But that Rey Mysterio joined voluntarily this time. There was a Michinoka driver by Dom, but Rey kicked out at 2. There was a basement drop kick to Dom by Rey, and then he sort of did a sliding drop kick to Priest under the ropes. It was going to be a 619, but Rhea rescued Dom from this. Zelina Vega did, you know, the only move she knows how to do now, a Hurricane Rana to take out Rhea.
That's all she knows how to do.
She's Lita.
Yep. And then she basically goaded Rhea to chase her, so like a matador trying to get a bull to chase her, and Rhea took the bait and chased her out of the ring. So Rhea was diverted. Olay, exactly.
Olay,
and she
exactly.
diverted her from ringside, which was pretty good because if you see that, you're thinking, well, there you go. That's the faces in right there. And then we get a 619. Ray tags in Santos, but the moves were made on Dom, and he's not the legal man. Damian Priest was the legal man, and Santos Escobar doesn't realize that. Turns around and gets hit right away with the South of Heaven, and Judgment Day wins.
Yeah, and Christopher Whelan also points out another thing. He goes on to say, my son pointed out that just about everyone on Ray's team tonight were in Lucha Underground. True. Is there a place in 2023 onward for that style of professional wrestling? Was Lucha a good launch pad? I love watching it with my kids. Lucha Underground was great, but Lucha as a whole, like Lucha Libre, is not a great launch pad in my opinion because of the style of wrestling involves absolutely no selling. But I don't know.
That's really not true.
Well, all the Mexican stuff I watch in particular, not so much Lucha Underground, but more so AAA and
modern
CMLL.
Yeah, modern Lucha. Yeah, but like
that's what I mean. I'm talking about modern.
But I mean, like if you watch like old school Lucha Libre, yeah, it was a little less selling. But I mean, like El Santo still like sold from underneath for most of his matches. Like, you know, Lucha Libre was founded on an idea.
Right, the big guns are different, like your Mil Mascaras as well, El Santo, like you said. Like those guys, sure, I agree with you. But today's generation, all they know is friggin' flips.
Today's generation are just AEW, but in Mexico.
Right, but even worse with the no-selling aspect.
Oh, I don't know. I think that the best selling that I've seen in AEW over the last couple of weeks is actually fucking El Vikingo, like, which is ridiculous because that wasn't great selling, but like that's probably the best example of selling that I've seen in AEW in a while.
All right, this past week we have Sammy Guevara getting hit with that crazy move by Commander, pops right back up and just hits him with the go to sleep or whatever he calls it, you know, whatever his version is.
GTH it's called with him, I think.
Go to hell. Yeah,
go to hell. So creative.
You know what's even more silly? I just want to point out that you guys mentioned Sammy Guevara. Someone posted a clip of Sammy on the Access show, the new Access show.
Yeah.
And it shows him and Bryan Danielson talking, like breaking the fourth wall completely, right? To the point where Sammy Guevara is crying. And now I'm seeing everybody posting crap, right, online saying, how can you hate Sammy Guevara? He should be a baby face.
Because he sucks.
Yeah, he sucks. But he's got to check it out. It's so retarded. I'm sorry to say.
How can you hate him? He's really nice. So was Del Wilkes.
Hey,
Not fucking awesome.
The Patriot. I used to love the Patriot, man. Come on.
Yes, right. Lucha Underground definitely introduced the North American, north of the Rio Grande audience to a lot of wrestlers they probably never would have seen. And people like the Lucha Brothers and others definitely got their launch pad. But there's
Kill Shot.
Well, Swerve was pretty well thought of already. But
him as Kill Shot was pretty awesome there.
Ryan Cage, Cross was there.
Absolutely.
Taya Valkyrie probably got, famous Thunder Rosa as Cobra Moon. But there's also a lot of people who are big stars
Prince
there.
Puma.
Prince Puma, yeah, good one. But Mil Muertes really hasn't amounted to much. He was already old. I mean, do we see Aerostar and Drago anywhere? Luchasaurus.
Aerostar was sort of getting Luchasaurus.
Brian Cage, John Moore, Johnny Lucha.
Was it Johnny Underground? Oh, Johnny Mundo. That's right. You're right. It was Johnny Mundo. Right. Johnny World.
Yeah. PJ
Sexy Star.
Jack Evans and Helico. I mean, true, yeah. It definitely helped a lot of people's careers, but those contracts were also terrible. I mean, it was Santos Escobar, in fact, as King Cuerno, who sued them, saying these contracts are, the
Santos
amount you're
was
paying
great
us,
in Lucha Underground, man.
They're unconscionable, and they did. They were able to break those contracts. I mean, it also gave other people prominence, like Joey Ryan, Sonny Kiss.
He didn't belong there, man, at all.
And as for will we see something like this again? Yeah, eventually somebody from Mexico or some big fan of Lucha Libre is going to have enough money that they'll be able to put something together again. They'll look back at Lucha Underground and they'll go, "Wow, this was really fun and it was really creative and there was a lot of cool things."
And I'll be honest, Chris,
we'll see it again. But
Chris, I went into that when Lucha Underground was a thing, man. I kid you not, I was ready to shit on it before I watched it, right? I'm thinking I'm going to watch one episode and I'll hate it. Man, I watched every single episode and I was like, damn it, I can't believe I liked it. You know what I mean? But it was really good.
Rey Mysterio Jr. spent a couple of years there.
Absolutely.
Jake Hagar was Jake Strong.
That's right.
So, a lot of people passed through. A.R. Fox was there.
Wasn't Jeff Cobb in a mask?
Yeah,
I think
he was the Monster Montanza.
Yes, that's right.
Dario Cuetos now
El Patron as well.
Yeah, Cesar Duran. So they were plenty. Katrina.
But you know what? You know why it was good?
Agreed, Jeff.
But you know what? Yeah, absolutely. You know why it was so great too? They didn't take themselves so seriously. They told you what it was, right?
It was a pulp comic book.
That's all it was. And
remember
that's why it was good.
You had Io Shirai and Kairi Sane were 2 out of 3. I think even the third one is a pretty well regarded female wrestler. I don't think it was Asuka.
No, it wasn't Asuka.
Is it the woman who commits? Was it Hana Kimura?
No.
I mean, the one who was on Lucha Underground, who I think was actually Latina, not Asian, was the leader of it. But these 3 only came in for one, and only 3 of them needed to wrestle because I think Penta actually did break one of their arms. But they
didn't Penta and Vampiro have a bloodbath in Lucha Underground too. That was a great feud.
Yeah. And with at the end of it, where Penta, calling Vampiro Master.
Yep, awesome match.
Yeah, it was fun as shit. And actually,
was phenomenal.
Wesley was there as Desmond Xavier for a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
I love. You know what was great? I love how Chris says Killshot was phenomenal. I remember you, Chris. You popped hard. He didn't know who Swerve was. I'm talking about Chris. Our Chris is in Ambs. He didn't know who Swerve was, but when he realized Swerve.
Had no idea. We were on the show, and I was like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Because he looks really good. I like his moves. Like
he loved Killshot, which was it popped to me once I said it's Swerve, dude. He's like, "What?"
He's like, that was Killshot in Lucha Underground, and I was like, "What? Fucking love that guy." Yeah, that makes sense. Fuck yeah.
But I got a rush at his reaction because he never knew that it was Swerve.
Listen,
and it was cool.
They had a recurring minor role for Lorenzo Lamas as a corrupt politician.
Yeah, it was great, man. It was great. And Chris says also, I absolutely love that you guys even know what I'm talking about. Much love.
No lie, Lucha Underground is what got me back into actually watching wrestling rather than just following it.
No shit.
Yeah, it was the most fun I had. You know, I was not exactly happy with things in life at the moment. I saw Lucha Underground. And it's just like I'm not gonna say it's it, but it actually was like so original. It was actually something I look forward to every week. I was glad that I didn't come in on the first season so I could go back and like watch it. You know.
Yeah, no, it was refreshing, man. It's a shame. I know MLW tried to pull something along those lines, even though it was nowhere near that.
Right.
So there's just I don't even know why they still call it Underground. But I hope, right, they're trying, but forget it. I just hope, even the production is much better than MLW. I'm talking about Lucha Underground.
There's MLW copying other people's ideas again, even down to the with the Olmec, head going doom. The music.
Oh, I agree.
I honestly don't think that we would have gotten things like the Broken Universe without Lucha Underground. So, I mean, it really did give us a lot of really cool stuff.
It opened up avenues for sure, man, because everyone in the pro wrestling world would have been too scared to go what Lucha Underground were trying to do.
They were too scared. Like,
exactly,
they clearly were too scared to do it, and then somebody did it, showed them that it could be successful. At least, I mean, again, successful. We can argue about whether or not it was successful, but it was creatively very successful. I mean, absolutely very successful, to the point where I think 20 years from now, people are gonna look back on Lucha Underground with the same kind of way that, like, I look back at Freaks and Geeks, for instance. You're gonna be looking back at this going, why wasn't this more successful? Wow. You're gonna get those kinds of reactions from people.
It was the funding, really, that caused a lot of issues. But wasn't it Conan and Vampiro that were the bookers of Lucha Underground?
Oh, I don't know who the bookers were, but Robert Rodriguez owned El Rey.
Oh no, I know that. I'm not talking about that, but I mean, just who were the actual bookers? I'm pretty sure Vampiro was the main guy, and Conan had a lot to do with it too.
Well, both of those guys have proven that they're good creatives. So
absolutely,
I mean, and Vampiro's a pain in the ass to keep around.
And Matt Striker was good there too, and he's.
I hate Matt Striker as a commentator, but him and Vampiro worked great together as commentators.
They
definitely.
Sure did. All right. Speaking of those things, we see Sammy walking backstage looking for Jay, asking around. Nobody's seen him. We are told that SummerSlam is going to be August 5th, 2023 in Detroit, Michigan, and that there's pre-sale VIP packages available. And then we see a promo for we're going to get a King returning. The return of Shinsuke Nakamura next week, the King of Strong Style. Finally. And he's going to re-debut in a place that loves Japanese Strong Style
Nebraska,
wrestling. Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh my God, man. That's sad. I made like a mental sort of note of that too. I'm like, really? But yeah, it is what it is.
So if anyone had a doubt who was in charge tonight, Vince would not be promoting Shinsuke Nakamura.
Absolutely.
You like surfing? Good. Keep surfing.
Yeah. 100%. And we all know that Nakamura is a Triple H guy, like 100%.
Yeah. Triple H for a guy who
Steve, right? It's Shinsuke.
Steve.
Oh, Steve, listen to me, buddy. Is there any problems with your contract? No, contract good, Mr. McMahon. Okay, I don't know. Do you like stuff? Go do stuff. I have a book. I have shit to do. All right, bye.
Well,
I think you're giving him too much credit. Vince would see him and go, "I didn't order Chinese."
Oh yeah, 100%. And he would put him in a tag team and call it the Orient Express once again.
I didn't order any Chinese food. I am Japanese. Who asked you?
I don't speak Japan.
Chinese, I study your Chinese.
Yeah. But what was I gonna say? That's gonna be awful.
Bangladesh. You're French, Bangladesh.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine he was playing a Frenchie?
I've got a great idea for you, pal. Great idea. You're a ninja.
Wrestling name.
Yeah, ninja, 100%.
The architect that Joey Numbers came up with. Bangladesh. If not for wrestling, at least for like Bollywood pornography.
Oh God, that's a good name for a Bollywood pornography.
There you go.
That's for sure.
So they tell us that the main event is next, and is it? No, not exactly. Jay is still backstage, and Sammy finds him, and Sammy goes, "Hey, Jay, I know you're angry, but there's a way out. Everything I said would happen happened. The bloodline's against you. Jimmy's not even here. You know what Roman did. Solo can't even look at you. Paul is scheming. Listen, I'll beat it the sense into you if I have to, but I don't want to. That's not how it has to be. And Jay, is looking like Jay, like he's like a pacing tiger in a cage in a zoo, and you don't know what he's thinking. And Sammy's like, okay. Then we hear commotion and clamoring from the back. Obviously, like metal poles falling on a hard floor, some screaming, and Sammy runs over there, and we see Solo there. He dumped basically what looked like a storage trunk on wheels onto KO, who's writhing in pain. His knee is injured. Sammy is struggling with other hands to help get it off him. Solo's just standing there, walks away. Jay doesn't help. He sort of runs over, gruffs and huffs and walks away. But KO is holding his knee, gripping it, and we're not sure on his status. There we see Sammy didn't listen to KO, and Sammy's like, I should have listened to KO. He was right. So then we do get to the main event. Jay Uso and the crowd still put up the ones, and he gets a pretty favorable response. Sami Zayn comes out.
Chant. Right.
Yeah, they go crazy for Sami Zayn also. But before he can do that, Kayla Braxton interrupts him and asks Sammy for an update on KO because she can't possibly ask the medical staff. And he says, it's unknown, but that doesn't look so good. I don't think he's going to be able to come out tonight and help. He goes, he was right. He was right. So we have a match. It's just exactly what you thought it would be. It's, very similar to matches they've had before. At some point, Solo comes ringside. Around the same time, Sammy gets the upper hand on Jay Uso. Sammy does a superplex to Jay from the top turnbuckle. They exchange blows and kicks. Eventually, there's a super kick for a 2 count. Often attempted, like Sammy hit the ropes and was going to do what looks like. Well, he was on top turnbuckle. It didn't look like he was doing quite a splash. More like he was just going to do a leap down, and Jay caught him in with the super kick. But he only gets a 2 count out of that. Jay is talking too much trash, and that gives Sami Zayn a chance to recover. He does an exploder into the corner, and then he does a haluva kick, but misses, but recovers and hits a blue thunder bomb, only for a 2 count. Sammy goes to the top, but Jay catches him. They struggle on the top turnbuckle for a while. Jay Uso headbutts Sammy, so they both sort of fall off the top turnbuckle. Sami Zayn is sort of on the outside of the ropes on the ring apron. Jay Uso sort of falls more towards another corner. And Sammy's on the apron, and Solo delivers a Samoan spike. Sammy's obviously down and out. Jay Uso does something between a drop kick and a super kick, so I'll just call it a super drop kick. And he gets the 3 count as Jay Uso wins. Solo slowly extends his hand to Jay, who's now prone in the corner, and helps his big brother up. So it looks like all is good there. Then the beatdown continues by Solo, and Solo is just beating them, but Jay is just watching and watching and watching. And Solo is about to deliver a second Samoan spike, but Jay Uso stops him, and the crowd starts chanting, Jay, Jay, Jay. You hear Jay yelling, it's enough, it's enough. But then Jay super kicks Sammy and breaks everyone's heart. And Solo goes to get the chair, and then we hear, bro.
Oh, my God.
And Matt Riddle intervenes with his Speedos on and those shoes.
What's up with that, man? I know from Raw he was wearing that shit, but come on.
He doesn't like to feel loose and unprotected.
He looks like a bum, especially with no fucking knee pads, no elbow pads, no boots, mind you. He looks literally like he's wearing his budgie smugglers to the beach.
That's exactly what he looks like. He clears the ring. They remind us that way back when, Sikoa is the one who took Matt Riddle out, so there's a little bit of history there. So this strange alliance. This is also NWA. Remember how we were talking how Dusty used to put together like sort of mishmash, right, groups of people to counter the Horsemen, and didn't quite make sense, but after a while you didn't care anymore. Well, that's it. You got Matt Riddle, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens.
Can I point out one thing about Riddle though? You know what he reminds me of right now? The way he looks, like a Von Erich. Yeah,
well, he's always sort of wrestled like a Von Erich.
Right.
Sort of cross between Kevin and some of the other younger ones. But in continuing my little game, Solo Sikoa NXT. Matt Riddle, NXT. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, NXT. Yes, some of those guys had very successful independent careers, but they all came out of NXT. The Usos didn't, but the rest of the folks in this did. So NXT, I mean, it counts for something pretty well. Anyway, Jay restrains Solo as they're going up the ramp. It's not time to go 2-on-2, and now there's a new problem for the bloodline in the broski. And that takes us to the end of that. Gives us our copyright and trademark assertion, and that ends my hosting duty. So, guys, free for all.
Go, Chris. You go first.
Yeah. Okay. I have a question. How in the fuck does somebody drop one of those things on your leg? Like, if it would have hit him in the head, I would have gotten it. Was Kevin Owens doing Pilates or something, and then Solo snuck up and dropped it on his leg?
Kevin
Very
Owens doing
confused
Pilates?
about that.
Well, Jesus Christ. Literally Jesus Christ. I mean,
anyway, yeah, the match was fine. The interaction with Sammy and Jay was kind of what you've come to expect. It seems like Jay is always pretty confused about where he's going or what he wants to do. Until he's in the ring, and then it's like something about like the actual action of the match and getting hit and hitting somebody back kind of brings him back into perspective for him, where he's like, no, I can do this. The bloodline up, etc. But whenever he's backstage, he seems like he's still very confused about what he wants to do, which I like. I like the fact that they're playing this as Jay still isn't sure what he wants to do or how he's feeling about the bloodline, because that's how he started. Like that's been his character the entire time through this, through this storyline. So I like that they're continuing with that. The match was good. Like you said, we've seen it a couple of times at this point. And Solo Sikoa continues to be the difference maker for the bloodline. I also liked that even though he was told, if Jay doesn't get this done, you handle our business. He clearly helped Jay win the match, which I'm not sure was exactly what the bloodline had intended. But it seems like Solo's still going, no, I'm going to go out there and help my brother, which is good too.
But I think also you saying that just made me think. I think, like you said, Chris, that wasn't the intention, right? And essentially Solo still cleaned up the mess per se, right? So I think Roman's not going to be happy actually with Jay anyway, Chris, in the end. So because Solo had to clean up the mess and got Jay the win. And look, this match was good. It told the story, but it was pretty much probably the weakest sort of match between these two out of all the other matches that they had in the past. And that's fine because, I mean, they've had a big week. They didn't have to do too much. They just, went through the motions and told the story, which also progresses the whole bloodline story. But I do think Roman will sort of not be happy with Jay. But can I ask you guys this? Are we getting a singles push now and a singles run with Jay? Because if you guys notice, he had new gear. It looked like he was kind of like primed for a singles kind of push. Do you guys think anything will come of it? Or it's just going to be the same old shit with him and his brother?
I don't want him to get a singles push, but I think it's inevitable that they'll get some. But, the Usos are too good a tag team to break them up.
I agree. I wouldn't break them up either.
But they could toy with it for, 9 months or a year. I mean, it's fine. By the way, I do have some breaking news. And for anybody out there who cares about NWA wrestling, skip ahead 15 seconds or close your ears, put it on mute, whatever you want. But and don't read lips. EC3 defeated Tyrus. He is the new NWA World's Heavyweight Champion.
EC3?
So EC3, yes, now has...
He controlled his narrative?
World Champion. Yeah, well, control your narrative it only exists in his mind. He's controlled his narrative to fold a promotion, but still use the same gimmick, pretending he's controlling his narrative.
I DGAF.
Yeah, I figured that most people wouldn't, but I wanted to give a spoiler alert because these are tapings, and this will run for the next 2.5 months on YouTube.
He will always be Dixie Carter's son to me.
Nephew.
Oh, nephew. Sorry, yeah, that's right, nephew.
He was good in Impact.
He was.
If you see him now, he's recognizable, but he's changed
yeah, I know,
a
his
lot
face
and everything in the shape of
Is
his
it the
face.
steroids,
Half
dude?
of
Is it
his-
too much?
Well, he did too many steroids because half of his body has now atrophied. So it's almost like Paul Orndorff, like
Yeah, I
this
get
arm
you, I
is
get
thin
you, right,
and
right,
this
yeah.
pec is like a different shape than this pec. Like something happened with some nerves or whatever that, I mean, like he's still like ripped, but he's completely asymmetrical. He's got like a big belly scar here. He has back knee. I mean, it's actually
He's got a lot of acne, dude. A lot.
Yeah,
like,
he's sort of unpleasant to look at.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up, but who cares?
There are at least 3 guys who had main event runs in Impact that I think haven't been used properly when they've come to WWE. He's one of them. I think that when he first debuted with the WWE, when he came into NXT and just afterwards, they should have strapped the rocket ship. He should have probably been what Austin Theory is right now. He should have had a feud with John Cena and been the anti-Cena because he would have been great at it.
You know what him and Keith Lee did? The same thing that put them both in the doghouse? They filed for trademarks for their own names while under either just before or after signing WWE contracts. And they tried to get Keith Lee to agree to it. So smarter or not smarter, he didn't agree to consent to letting them have the name.
He used that name before WWE anyway. Who were they to try to take that off you, you know?
Well, that's why they needed his consent.
Who are they? Right. Is they're the biggest fucking company in the world
I know that,
business, and there's a possibility that if he signed, here's why they do it, and here's why people sign off on it.
Why they do it. It's all about marketing and shit.
Yeah, and there's a chance that for EC3, he's going, well, what right do you have to my name? And they're going, well, we don't. But right now we're talking about EC3 control your narrative when we could have been talking about, wow, EC3 4-time Intercontinental Champion at this point. Like there is a reason why as a talent you might say, sure, I'll sign.
Yeah, but they're obviously bad negotiators though, because if guys like Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, they got to keep their own likeness.
Samoa Joe and AJ Styles were much bigger deals than EC3.
Of course they were. Absolutely.
That was just a sign of respect, and maybe those were things that Triple H did and maybe Vince didn't like them, and that may be one of the many. I
think AJ was the exception. Vince liked AJ. Vince likes AJ Styles, so I think he's an exception.
But I don't know that he always did. Anyway, he
never liked him previously until he got to WWE and got to know him. And he said this in interviews.
You're missing the point though. In the list of grievances that Vince may have on Triple H, somewhere in there might be that he allowed AJ Styles and Samoa Joe to keep their own names when he signed them to contracts.
Yeah, and so that was my first example from Impact. Secondly, Killer Cross. I still think that they criminally screwed him up when he got to the main roster to the point where I'm really not sure that he's ever going to be able to recover to the point that he should have or could have. And the third one is Bobby Lashley, who should be a multiple-time world champion at this point in the WWF.
I think Bobby Lashley they'll do right with eventually, right? I think, circumstances unfortunately happened where he ended up losing his spot. And again, we have heard nothing about Bray Wyatt right now either, right?
Well, Bobby Lashley held the world title twice in the last 3 years. Right. So the U.S. championship at least twice in that amount of time as well. So
I think they'll
right now he's sort of stuck in the mud, but he's still winning stuck in the mud. So
right. That's not his fault. That's not WWE's fault. This is Bray's fault that all this shit happened. But is there any news on Bray, Jeff?
No,
right? Right. Okay. Find out because I find it interesting. Why is that?
You can sometimes tell when someone feels like you're abusing their.
Oh, okay. I see. Is that what you feel? Is that how you feel?
Yeah, that's how I feel. I feel like my contact doesn't want me to ask about those questions. I can tell from the answers.
Fair enough.
He doesn't want to give me more than that.
That's fair enough. That's cool. I mean, yeah, it is what it is. And
our relationship is not based on he's a source for wrestling information for me.
Okay, right. Well, that's interesting. I'm not even going to bother asking you what the relationship is because
we're lovers.
Did you hear? Does La Sicaria know?
Basically, what happened is
her.
is that
Hey.
Jeff was sitting at a table, and then his source came in, and it was actually his source's table originally. But his source said, "Go ahead, and you can keep it." And then they struck up a conversation. Long story short, they had a 6-month-long love affair where they made mad passionate love to one another.
It was glorious, right?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm not even going to ask any more questions.
Right.
I'm not even going to bother going
Hamin
there.
Media Group, no homo, but totally homo.
Yeah, super homo.
Yeah, super homo.
No. Well, anyway.
I was young. I needed the money.
So you pimped yourself out, huh? I mean, anyway.
So yeah, that's SmackDown, and that's Smack Talk. So you said they like
That's
long
Smack
form.
Attack.
We went 2 minutes and 14 minutes, which is and almost 15, which is 15
I
minutes
think
longer
we
than
did-
SmackDown.
We did well. I'm pretty knackered at this point. So yeah, no, we did well, man. So yeah, Jeff. I mean,
All right. Well,
continue
thank
on.
you to Channel Attitude, Mr. Russo and folks, and thank you to Bin Hamin and everyone at the Hamin Media Group for letting us sit in. Thank you, John Enright, for trusting us with your show. It is your show, and hopefully you were able to enjoy your holiday in good spirits and knowing that whether it's fun or worship or a combination of both, that you didn't have to worry that the show was going to be missed again. I know it's very important for it to be a consistent property again, and we're here to help you, and we're honored that you had us join your team. So thank you for that. So for the PWC Invasion and representing tonight Channel Attitude and the Hamin Media Group, I would just like to let the boys tell them where they can find you.
Well, you can find me right here on Channel Attitude, as well as all of us, for that matter, talking smack. Well, I was going to say Smack Attack, but really SmackDown on the Smack Attack. And look out for us tomorrow, where we'll be back with the Battle of the Belts edition of Rampage Uncaged.
What
Right here
time
on
should they be looking for that, Jimmy T?
Actually, a good question. What time are we going live tomorrow, since we usually do it tonight? So, I don't know. Maybe early, hopefully, as early as possible. If we can.
Jimmy, it depends on you, so give us a time.
Well, honestly, I'm around. I'm free
Give
tomorrow
us a
anytime.
time. We're live.
How about the usual time that we do Smack Attack?
Sounds good.
Is that cool with both of you?
Yep.
Sure.
You look like you don't want that, really, Jeff.
I'd
thought
like to
about
go a
it.
little bit later. There's 2 hours left,
See,
and I have to watch.
I
for that.
knew it.
How about noon?
Okay, that's fine.
Noon
That's
Eastern.
1 hour later. Noon Eastern, which will be 11 Pacific, I think, or Central.
No, that would be 11 Central. It would be
Right,
9
11 Central,
a.m.
right.
Pacific.
So basically 12, 11 Central, 12 Eastern, and we'll be back talking Rampage and Battle of the Belts, and also like and subscribe at the pwcnetwork.podbean.com and also at haminmediagroup.podbean.com, where you can find our affiliate shows, and that's it.
I'm also a staple here on the Hamin Media Group. You can find me on the PWC. I'm one of the founding fathers of the PWC, so you can see me. So you can see a lot of my shows there. You can find me on Twitter. I'm at ChrisAmbs1, where I have nothing but insightful and intelligent things to say all the time. You can also find me if you look through the WWE library there on the WWE Network. You'll find me and my tag team partner, Uno. I was Dose. And you can find me. I'm a multiple-time WWE Tag Team Champion, of course. Edge and Christian were not us, regardless of what the Hardy Boys said at the time. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
Excellent. Well, thanks, guys. Again, thank you to everyone involved. Where you can find me at Icarus Fell MD. It's right there under my head, but for you on audio, you don't know what that means. You can find me at the PWC as well, and occasionally on Hamin Media Group and Channel Attitude, on Smack Attack and Uncaged. I don't know if that Ring of Honor show is ever going to come back. Probably not. But, maybe I'll get invited on things like, Next Level or, who knows, things. My non-wrestling shows are Garden of Doom and Garden Views. My non-These Guys wrestling show is Hammerlock Hangover. Steve and I actually did Esteban Pineapple, and I actually recorded a show last night where we argued about things like should Jay White have gone to NXT, even though he's already signed by AEW, and other things that get me annoyed at Steve, so you can hear me being annoyed. And
Really?
say, fuck cares, it's moot, and things like that a lot.
Really?
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I know. Everyone likes to hear us bicker. Garden of Doom is sort of like things that go bump in the night, cryptids, UFOlogy, history, alternative history, philosophy, theosophy, monsters, pop culture. I'm booking guests left and right. Chris has been on now 6 times. He's the only 6-time guest, and we just dropped a show on Atlantis, and tomorrow or Sunday I'm going to drop a show on Tartaria. In between, I've been dropping midweek shows because I'm so backed up. One was on Osiris is Everywhere. But this week, Garden Views will return, where I have a geopolitical professor who went to George Washington and Harvard. The first person I ever spoke to who went to Harvard who didn't mention it in any of the sentences she provided to me, and certainly not in the first 2. So I liked her already at that. And we're going to talk about European geopolitics, especially when it comes to military. She's worked with the NATO Balkans Project, the Director of National Intelligence. You name it, she's done it. She's been in Afghanistan. She's been in Kosovo, Croatia, Iraq, you name it, she's been there. And we're going to talk about military doctrine and things of that nature, but focused a lot on Ukraine. So look for that on Wednesday, and that's the kind of stuff you'll see on Garden Views, including legal stuff. So with that, I'm out. Thank everyone again.
And happy Easter and happy Passover. And
Olé!
Exactly.
Stay evil, my friends.
Stay evil. Peace.
Yes, sir.
Wade County.
16 years later,
We done made history.
blue rings on our fingers, pockets getting fatter. Nigga, we getting greater.
I'm the son of a saint, still considered a sinner. 3 rings on his finger, yeah, that boy was a winner. Never known as a singer, but this might be a single. Always bet on your homies, then go bat a casino. Ball is my passion, check the stats that they asking. Shorty checking my page, she followed my fashion. My life is a film, and Gab's the lead. She's so precious to me, as the air that I breathe. Time to fuel up the jet, D-Way jersey to drip, Lamborghinis to match, got 3 G's on the strip. These haters beneath us, as I'm lacing my sneakers. Season 16, Lamborghinis and Nimas.
I'm shooting my shot, every car that I cop, every record I break, every rock in my watch, every step that I take, still won't stop, no mistakes. I'm talking major league, never minimum wage. So proud to be niggas, the descent of a slave. Motorcade, several Mercedes, so get out my way. Tangerine, still in my slippers, still twisting up dank. Shed a tear for all my homies, black boy in the gates. Let's find a masseuse, then inspire the youth. If it's best for the hood, then let's call it a truce. My chains get tangled, these niggas be hateful. My mama's still praying, so really I'm grateful.
I'm still here, looking through the window, watching the days go by, watching the sunrise. Why don't you try? I'm still here, looking through the window, watching the days go by, watching the sunrise. Why don't you try?
I promised to pray for a positive fate. Had the world in your palms, but he called him a case. Shed a tear in the court, he got boxed in the crate. Then they shook him up north, mom just sat in the days. The bottles on ice, the models be nice. We call it run and shoot, any problems tonight. Serve them like Boris Becker, I want 200 checkers. So if they wanna slow our records, it just won't affect us. Take my boys to Mecca, all my niggas blessed. Smoking with my dogs, you can smell the relish. They try to give me hell, I bet I get to heaven. I stay away from 12, I'm such a gifted felon. I'm seated on the floor, she can see the loafers. Showing love to the season ticket holders. Showing love to the season ticket holders. Showing love to the season ticket holders.
We do this for the city, you.
The whole city.
I'm still here, looking through the window, watching the days go by, watching the sunrise. Why don't you try? I'm still here, looking through the window, watching the days go by.
Now, how's it feel?
Watching the sunrise. Why don't you try?
How's it feel?
Yeah, it feels great, baby. I never went to South Beach until I got an NBA. I just want you to know that, my boy.
Hey, listen, we put on for the city 16 years, 5 finals, 3 rings. We put those trophies over our head. We put on for the... Man, let me calm down, man. Fuck.
Don't calm down. Right out, my nigga. Cry out.
I'll say something up in this book that...
You with the motherfucking Mr. 305, nigga. Do what you do.
Think I got my own county. Listen, the love in the city has been crazy, man. I appreciate it, dog. Thanks for giving my own county.
I told these niggas, man, you got the beach, I got cross that bridge. Niggas can't play with us, man. Can't do nothing around here, bro.
Hey, Ross. Man, they nothing but love, baby.
Big homie, you know what it is. Always. Still with the shits 3 rings later, though.